Folks, we do have an attorney-client session that we'll start with first. So I'm going to have to ask everyone in the courtroom to leave the room until we tell you it's time to come back in, except for the county commissioners and the county attorney. So please bear with us. Thank you. The July 17th meeting of the Carter County Commission is now in session. I respectfully request everyone in the courtroom to turn off your cell phones at this time. Also, commissioners, do not use your phone for texting during the meeting. It can be very, very distracting. Please remain focused on the many issues that we have before you tonight. Commissioners, if you wish to speak at any time during this meeting, please stand and wait to be recognized by the chair. Only one person will be recognized to speak at any given time. All discussion must pertain to the motion that is under consideration. Going off on irrelevant topics is not in order. During the commissioner's comment, motions to adjourn will not be acknowledged until the chair is satisfied that all commissioners have had the opportunity to speak. Mr. Gary Smith, if you would please, as far as the emergency egress plan.
Good evening. Good evening. Those of you who may not have attended a commission meeting before, in the unlikely event that we need to evacuate this facility, our primary evacuation route is going to be the south entrance, which is the monument side of the building, with an assembly in the parking lot in the back of the building. Our secondary evacuation route is the stairwell from the elevators on the north end of the building, and again, the assembly area will be on the parking lot behind the building. Our restrooms are located on the north end of the building on the first and second floor, and they are handicap accessible.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. We appreciate that. Madam Clerk, if you would, proceed with the roll call. Mr. Miller.
I'm crying.
1 second. Now try it, Mr. Miller. All present. We do have a quorum. Everything's good. Chair will entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda? Mr. Holdren, motion to approve, second by Mr. Jenkins. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, proceed with the vote. Mr. Lewis? There we go. Great. We can proceed with this meeting now. Wonderful. If you would please stand for the opening prayer, which will be led by Commissioner Campbell. Please remain standing after the prayer for the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Commissioner Collins.
Dear Heavenly gracious Father God, Lord, if you allow us to bow our heads, Lord, and call upon your precious name. Lord, we thank you, Lord, that you've given us another day, another breath to take, Lord. We can never give you enough honor and praise, God, for what you've done for each one of us. Lord, we mostly thank you for our salvation, Lord, that only came through your Son, Jesus Christ. Lord, tonight we do pray, Lord. Pray for each one, Lord, that's gathered in this building tonight, God, that your blessings be upon each one. Father God, that you give us the wisdom, the knowledge, God, of your Son, Lord, that we make decisions from time to time, God, that we'll make the correct ones. Lord, we just pray tonight, Lord, for those that are sick, Lord, maybe it was in their body. Lord, we pray, God, that you have your healing hands upon them. Lord, we do pray, Lord, for our local government, our state government, Lord, our local officials and our state officials. God, we pray, God, that you guide them. Lord, we thank you for all of our officials, Lord, that take part in this town, Lord. Lord, we ask these things in your blessed and holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Attention, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I'd ask for the elected and appointed officials to stand to be recognized for your service. Thank you. Public comments. If there's anyone in the audience that would like to address the commission, please stand to be recognized. Miss Morgan. Miss Morgan. Please come forth, state your name. You have 5 minutes.
On this tax increase, I cannot see why y'all can have one, because we just had an increase last year when they, for reappraisal. And you needed, like I said, what's for work within your means. These older people have to live on it in among their means and all of those. And another thing, there's $6 million in the bookkeeper's office not drawing anything, and there's $5 million in the debt service, and there is currently $20 million in Randall Lewis's office drawing 0.5% interest at Citizens Bank that's been there for the past 24 years, and use the interest on find out, use nothing. But then why are you having to have a tax raise when you got this money? And what's this money for? It needs to be, people need to know what this money is in there for. What it's been used for. Can anyone tell me? I mean, budget committee should know what it's for, nobody else. Who wants on the budget committee?
Hey, ma'am, I'll tell you what they tell me it's for, debt service.
Mr. Lewis?
Debt service.
Mr. Lewis, if you would, please. This is public comment section, not a question answer. Ms. Jeanette, you can make any statement you need as long as, yeah, just go ahead. No question answer. Thank you.
And I appreciate you letting me know.
Yeah, okay.
But this is something that I feel the people should know and know that this money's there and what it should be used for. And if the budget committee hasn't looked, went in and looked into this, then they should have before deciding to raise property tax. And there's a lot of elderly people out there that's on very limited income that cannot afford it. Now, they pay their bills, they can afford to get all their medication. And I've mentioned that before, and it's a shame. And it seems like if people could work within the budget, surely the goodness the county can. If not, there's something wrong. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Next person, Mr. Livingston, Mr. Snail, you were first, I think. Mr. Snail. If you would, please clearly state your name for the clerk, for the record.
My name is Scott Snell. I'm a taxpayer, voter, citizen of Carter County in the 5th District. If I could get my commissioners to raise their hands, please, for the 5th District. I'd like to give them copies of this. Pass them. We have a problem on Arlington Drive where I live. It's actually multiple structures. 2 of them are houses. These houses are in deplorable condition. They are a safety and health problem that includes not just Arlington Drive, but also all the surrounding areas. There's there's one paper that you will find that shows a trailer. And this trailer has behind it a white two-story building, and beside it you can see a green building with white front on it. These buildings, the one building has been condemned. I'm sorry, I don't have enough for everyone, but if you would pass those down. The building, the two-story building, has been condemned and or has been posted. I apologize, has been posted and still remains there where it has sat unused since the 70s. One of the homes, thank you. One of the homes has been empty since 2000, perhaps before, and that home that you'll see here in a moment, that home has brush in the back. That home has no siding, all the bricks have been torn away. That home has not had anyone living there in a very long while, and because the wood and the paneling, the insulation has been removed, it is impossible to know just how much that structure has been compromised. Having said that, if you would look at the one, it shows a picture of a house. It looks like this. This is the house. This is the house that has no bricks on the side. This is the house that has a back that is filled with debris. Mostly it's grown over. And if you look at the pictures, what you find is two shots of the front of the house. You'll find a picture from the back of the house where vines have grown from it for a time, and then you see two pictures that are shrubbery that's found in that and in the lot adjacent. Did I give you papers? Thank you. That is found in the lot adjacent. The overgrowth from the two buildings, or the two homes, have come together as one. Some of my neighbors are here tonight, particularly specifically for this. If you look at the home, it shows a white building in the front with yellow paint on the sides. This home has been abandoned now since, well, let's see, the thing was sold, well, I'm not sure, let's call it 2000. And that was auctioned off. Different people have come in and out. Different people have lived there. The most recent group of people, there was a man, I presume his wife and child. Just if you could hold on to this. They lived there. And if you look at the pages toward the back, you see different shots of the house from side and front. And you see the rickety stairs in one picture from behind the house. And if you look carefully, you'll see this picture, which is as it is today. There are 24 black leaf sacks filled with trash in the front yard. And that doesn't include the sacks that are underneath that.
Mr. Snell, you've got only about 35 seconds left. Could you get to the point and tell the commission what you would like from them?
We'd like for you to take action on these three structures. The two buildings down at the bottom, the one that has no sides, and of course the one with all the trash sacks. It is a health and a safety condition, every single building. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
The addresses would be 122 and 5, I believe. And then the one at the bottom is Arlington. Yes, ma'am. Arlington Drive.
Thank you, Mr. Snell.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Livingston, you are next, I think. Please state your name for the clerk. You have 5 minutes.
Roy Livingston, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. We're here tonight on a pretty touchy subject, and that's raising taxes. And evidently, the commissioner stood right here and took an oath in front of a judge that they would uphold the Constitution of the United States, the state of Tennessee, and to their constituents, to their best interest. And it appears here, from what we're seeing in this tax thing here, that there's not a whole lot of evidence that the commissioners has helped her into this bargain. When you lie under oath, that is normally perjury. And perjury is criminal. And I'm sure it don't bother you about that part. Because I'm telling you, these taxes right here, I pulled from 2 different places, and there's over $1 million in it that I just about bet is not induced into this budget of income. Now, normally you would think when the budget committee gets ready to set their budget and stuff, that the finance committee, as the oversight committee, would go through it and test it and see what's there and if it's done legal. This here appears to be done illegal all the way. Because I've talked to some of the commissioners that's on this budget committee, and there's not a, I asked them for a worksheet of the income and expenditures. And any of you people out here that does business, or your own or whatever your household knows, you've got to know the income and the expenditures to be able to make a budget. Not one of them was allowed this information, the income and expenditures on paper that we could look at and tell if they've done this thing right. And this, what appears to be going on here, that they're stacking money, moving money and stacking money. Now, we know for a fact that they took their money from the school system at Hampton, that's already paid for, it's been paid for years. The one at Cloudland, they took it. When it went on, it was right around $30,000 a penny, was $37,000, I believe, the penny was bringing in. And now it's bringing in, they say, $82,000. You've more than doubled your money. And what it appears to be here, that they just absolutely stole that money because it didn't go back to the source that it come from, which was the general fund. And it probably come through bonds and stuff through the general fund. And they need to account for this money. They don't account for nothing. They just look and say what he said, she said, they said. That's how they make a budget. And ladies and gentlemen, the taxpayers of this county cannot stand no more. There's enough money here to run 2 or 3 counties if you count it all. But you need to count your money before you go to trying to make a budget. And I think that the best thing we can do right now is just walk them back through that process. Because you're under oath, every one of you were, to do this thing and do it right there in front of that judge. And it appears here that if you're not doing this, you perjured yourself. When you perjured yourself, that's a felony. And a felony is criminal. And I'd say you can say here, it don't bother you what it would be. Because you think that nobody's going to say nothing. This time, the people's going to rile up, and I'm telling you. Because they're not going to put up with this anymore. You've got people out here losing their houses every day. And you've got people trying to subsidize food or medicine. And there don't seem to be any sympathy for anybody. I've never heard one man back here, a couple of them, Mr. Cody here, John Lewis, mention the taxpayers, period. You're here to serve the taxpayers, all of them of Carter County. You don't ever hear them mention the taxpayers. It's all about them, or whoever they are. And they raise more cane about this thing right up here. $20,000. Well, you're going to put your name on this thing today, and it's going to be etched in that board. And you ain't going to be able to take it out there and burn it, or throw it away. And we're going to follow whoever votes for this tax day from here to the election, every step of the way. We're going to backtrack this thing. We're going to try to find out exactly how this budget was set, whether it was set for 1 or 2 people, or it was set by the entire budget committee.
Mr. Livingston, I'm sorry, your time's up, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Anyone else? Yes, ma'am, if you would, come forth, state your name. Ma'am, you have 5 minutes. Please state your name for the clerk.
Therese Whitson. Same as Mr. Snell, I too live on Arlington Drive, and kind of hate to go back to this after what the gentleman who just preceded me said. I think his statements were wonderful, I agree. However, with regard to those funds that don't seem to be sufficient, I'm wondering why, when we have departments set up, specifically in my case, zoning departments, that I am told by employees there that they don't have money to enforce what I believe are codes that are set for this county. One of the properties that Mr. Snell spoke of is the one that we call a garbage bag house. It's the one that has changed ownership several times and does in fact present a health hazard. And there was, until probably 2 weeks ago, a child who looked about 9 years old who was living in that house with, I'm told, no electricity and I'm told no water service for quite a long time. He was basically squatted there. If this situation had been handled by the authorities previous to that, I don't think that situation would have presented itself. As I understand it, this is second or third hand information here, I'm told that that most recent family was evicted. There were 4 animals left behind. One, I think, was dead. They were all injured and starving. The house was filthy, but it is no different than the outside of the house. I myself had placed probably 4 to 5 calls to the zoning department. Chris Schutler's department, I believe. I have not spoken with him personally, but 4 to 5 calls in the last 5 or 6 years. Nothing has been done. Recently, I came and spoke with another gentleman in that department. I went down in person, and what I learned was, Ms. Whitson, we have contacted the party or parties that owns that property. We sent a certified letter, and it cost $10 to send that certified letter. And, we didn't get a response. And I said, well, what is the next step? Well, we can send another letter, but that's $10 more. And I'm thinking to myself, we are talking about taxes here. We are all struggling financially. And we are asked for more money in the form of taxes, and yet the zoning department can't spend $10 for another certified letter. To follow that up, I'm told that there's no teeth behind these laws because the commissioners who voted them in, and again, this is what I was told, I don't have personal knowledge, but that these laws are not enforced, that perhaps some people have personal interest contrary to the enforcement of the laws. I don't know. But as a property owner, I hate to see my neighborhood go downhill. At some point, I might like to move. Well, frankly, I'd like to leave now. It's an embarrassment. But I can't. My property isn't worth much. My house personally is well maintained, as are several. But with trailers that remain there in a property that's not zoned for trailers, but they have been allowed to remain, with the house that has no brick on it for 20 years, and the garbage bag house, I feel like I'm back in the slums in Miami, Florida. It's just not quite as hot. So I think we have the ability to do something here. We need to recognize it, and we need to stand together and improve it. My neighborhood is not the only one that has this problem. I should have been here years ago. But we have people all over Carter County who feel the same way about where they live. They have pride in their neighborhoods and their homes. And there's no reason we can't do the best we can with whatever funds we have. But we all need to be held accountable. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone else that would like to address the commission during public comments? Anyone else? Seeing none, we're closing public comments and moving on. Attorney Tom Jesse. Mr. Jesse, sir, if you would please, you're going to provide a presentation or open discussion on the opioid litigation issue.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. My wife was over here a couple of weeks ago. She happens to be in Greene County tonight. To just update you from what they told you the last time, because I was in Campbell County. Campbell County, Hamlin, Greene, meetings in Gibson, Tifton, Fayette, 5 counties down around Chattanooga have approximately 19, depending on what came in today, have voted to work with us to try to go ahead and file the lawsuit that was discussed the last time. It will be a county-by-county basis. It's against the distributors of the opioids. Interestingly enough, the friends that contacted me, some lawyers from West Virginia, that pointed out that our law is almost identical. One of my distant cousins lives up there. They're about a year ahead of us. Their case is filed for 9 counties. They settled their state case. Their Attorney General filed his case in 2012, and in 2014 he settled it for $40-some million for the state. Counties opted out. Primarily the reason being is that it's our belief that a local problem has to have a local solution. We saw in tobacco litigation that yes, there was one huge pot of money, but it didn't trickle down to the counties. It stayed at the state. Went in this case, to balance our budget in Tennessee, general fund in Virginia. They set up an amazing trust fund that does so much for industrial development. So this gentleman who I've gotten to know very well said, you know, I'm going to take a different approach. When he filed in West Virginia, and said, you know, the nuisance is here. Here is where the emergency room is full. Here is where the jail is full. Here is where the homeless are wandering. Here is where the addicts are. Here is where the children are that have to deal with that, and the citizens that have to deal with that. So the problem needs to be fixed from a local basis. And as was presented to you last time, should you decide to hire us, it's a contingent fee. There's no cost if we don't cover something. And again, fortunately, since West Virginia is so far ahead of us, they argued, the distributors filed a motion to dismiss their case, and it was argued in federal court 2.5 weeks ago. We hope we'll have an opinion in early August. They think they're going to be successful with defeating that motion to dismiss, which means the lawsuit will continue. That'll be good for us because we'll know a federal judge in West Virginia with almost identical laws said the case gets to go forward. That doesn't preclude your district attorney, who's a good friend of mine. He's got his case for his offices, and I've been to meetings with the state attorney general's office, their opioid task force, and the state attorney general is also looking into filing a case. So there's a lot of different approaches depending on where, basically, if any of them are successful, hopefully all of them will be, the money goes to different purposes. Our belief is that your damages here have to be funded here and in each county. And that the first thing is education. There has to be money. I had 3 or 4 teachers stand up in Campbell County and Ron and said, you know, we used to see every kid in high school smoking cigarettes. And one of them still taught us, we rarely see a kid now ever smoking a cigarette. So obviously education worked, but it started, and it has to start with this, basically in kindergarten. So you need funding on this kind of topic, health issues relating to medication, as soon as you can get it here. The next category we always talk about is safety, because your sheriff has to pick up pieces of this. Your jail picks up the pieces of this. You're asked, I was in Cott County 3 months ago. They're voting tonight, 3 months ago, to talk. And interestingly enough, their jail budget, they had already doubled the money they were going to spend on jail health care in March for this year. They already spent twice what they had budgeted. And the sheriff directly related to the addictions. So you've got the safety issues, you've got the education issues, and then you truly have the health issues. We're not going to stop it tomorrow. Synthetic opioid addiction is absolutely about the hardest thing to get off of any addiction. There has to be some kind of funding for local treatment programs, but also local work. And, you know, if we're going to quit taking pills and come back to society, they're going to have something to do. It has to be job training. It has to be. It is a monumental task over time. This is not a let's get a quick check, get our money, balance our budget, and go on. And there are no really good answers one way or the other. If we're successful, hopefully there'll be basically a hearing on a county-by-county basis. In that category, we've got some experts at Johns Hopkins. And interestingly enough, over in Washington County, the mayor over there was talking about, he had seen the same Johns Hopkins article and plan, and they are beginning to institute some of their plans toward the education model and all that. But as he said, we're writing our objectives, we're planning what we're going to do, but we have no money to fund it. So this, hopefully, the people that caused the problem can fund it. If I could guarantee everything I've ever done, I probably wouldn't be standing here because I'd already made so much money, I'd gone home or gone somewhere else. There is no guarantees in a lawsuit, but I think we have got a fantastic argument, and I would hope that you would approve our firm's opportunity working with the team out of West Virginia. I will be the one that's responsible for reporting to you when you want to report. It'll be your county's decision for your case. I'm known to do class action work. This is not going to be a class action. Now, the judge may pile us all together in one place on the issues of the law, but we all get through the law issues together. It's the facts that's important. What is the damage to your county? Does anybody have any questions?
I've got a question.
Yes, sir.
Now, say we pass this lawsuit against the drug companies. That's what we're talking about now.
Well, the distributors, yes,
The
sir.
distributors. Now, if they lose, and they're not that to sell this stuff, would like to come in and start flooding the market with the illegal pills?
There is absolutely no question. It's already started. As the pills have started cutting back, you can start in Detroit. They're already doing work. The West Virginia guys gave me some statistics. They're already showing an increase of heroin coming right down the interstate from Detroit into Ohio and West Virginia. So it's going to come right up the interstate. It's going to come right through. I remember when Johnson County had a problem some years ago. The biggest problem is a pill. One of these opioids sells for about $40 a pill. I can get the same high for $2 worth of heroin. And that's marked up. They can't sell it in New York City for $2 a hit. They only get $1 for it. They've got a captive audience. There is no question that the funding that you're going to have to deal with, whether you're involved or not, is going to be when they take up the pills, it's going to be replaced. We see it all over the world. If you can't sell, I mean, the largest manufacturers of now aren't guys cooking it in the bathtubs out here in Stony Creek or somewhere. It's the Mexicans.
See, Tennessee's always had a problem. Carter County's got a problem. But I think the solution is going to be law enforcement, but you got to catch it. But I just don't have an answer for it, but I just wanted to let you know.
It's going to be something that hopefully it's caught on so well, the information. And DAs bringing lawsuits, and states bringing lawsuits, and county bringing lawsuits. The city of Chicago has their own lawsuit. Start focusing the issue, because what happened in some of the state class action cases is it seems like a huge sum of money. And Let me give you one example. One of the guys on the team was in tobacco litigation and then was in another healthcare case. And they took 7 states out of the national state class action. They recovered 25 times more than the other 23 states that stayed in. So what's really important, we think this time, it'd be like me having 5 criminal cases, 10 car wreck cases, whatever it is. The man I'm representing gets to call, the woman I'm representing gets to call the shot for their case. So this is going to be a situation where you're going to get, hopefully, if we get that far, to tell your story about what is it costing you here. And if enough of those stories are told, I mean, McKesson wrote a check for $150 million, I think, in January for fines and just went on. That's a traffic ticket for them. You know, it's the 3rd largest company in the United States. That's
This suit would, we talked the other time about the low 3. Does this suit go after the top 3 distributors, 4 distributors? Okay, you're on the right side now.
Yeah, well, what we were looking at is we have got the model out of West Virginia. The big 3 are Cardinal, Amerisource, and McKesson. Then there are some other smaller distributors. Doing our research so far, and we're gathering more information, the top 3 are already here. So the top 3 are already major suppliers here. What amazed me, one of the things I know everybody's thinking about is, well, if Sally's got a prescription or Johnny's got a prescription and the doctor wrote it, who cares? Well, they already know there's something like a 70% loss. They anticipate. You're going to drop 3, you'll step on 2. Your uncle's going to come in and take 1. You're going to take 2 instead of 1, or whatever it is. But when you take the numbers of pills, you should have known if you're the distributor. Let me tell you, the liquor distributors would know how many bottles of bourbon off that shelf over there, because they're going to come collect the tax off of it. So the model that we put through is exactly the same. When the drug bill was created back in the 70s, it was the same concept. The distributor was supposed to keep up with where all this medicine is, and they've not been keeping up.
This is Mr. Chairman, Mr. Jesse, thank you.
Sure.
But I'll make a motion to hire Mr. Jesse's firm and for them to file the lawsuit.
I'll second.
Have a motion made by Mr. Jenkins, seconded by Ms. Brown to hire the Jesse firm to represent Carter County in this cause.
Can we continue the discussion?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Discussion.
Mr. Jesse, let's say this is a successful case. What, if anything, do you see blowback on physicians who prescribe those compounds or pharmacies that distribute those compounds?
Well, I've had that question asked. It's already, you saw last week, 410 individual doctors / nursing homes / entities were indicted in a series of federal court actions. Some were for over-prescribing, some were for billing practices. There'll be, I think there were 3 in Tennessee that have not been named yet because they haven't been served. There is one in Tennessee that I know of right now. There will be blowback. There is no question there will be blowback for the people that know what they're not supposed to be doing. I truly believe, somebody asked me from Campbell County, ran out and said, well, could we just sue every doctor in the county? I go, no. They're prescribing, most of them are prescribing lawfully. So no, there won't be blowback there. Where the blowback is going to be, in my humble opinion, is you're a doctor and you're going to look at this man and go, I ain't got anything to give you anymore. How many of us have been into a neurosurgeon's office and see that sign says, don't ask for narcotics? And I'm thinking, well, if you're going to cut my head open, I might need a few pain pills to get by. But I think what we're going to see happen is, the man Harvard that wrote the letter, the report about the smiley face to pain face. Used to advocate, I've seen his interviews, and I think he was 100% honest with the world. When you have really bad pain, you're not going to get addicted, it's going to get you to break through, you're going to be fine. He now says, I should have never written that letter and I should have made that speech. I did not realize. So don't forget the manufacturers. I think the good people that have done what they're supposed to do are going to be fine. I think there are going to be clinics that are going to have problems. I think there might be small pharmacies that are going to be problems. There are going to be big, they closed 2 Walgreens and 5 doctor's offices in the middle of Florida, and it said the number of pills that came out of East Tennessee was astronomical. I had a client who was asked, she hurt herself in a workers' comp case. Somebody came to her, she didn't know, said, are you on pain meds? She said, yeah, too. She said, well, if you will go to Florida and get your prescription filled at this place, you will get 120-day supply, which no pharmacy locally is going to write. And on the way back, we're going to pay you to go down, we're going to pay you to come back, and you can keep a third of the pills and we'll keep 2/3. You know, and that was what somebody was offered. So there will be issues, but I think overall society is going to be better for getting everybody focused in a different direction.
Any more discussion? Mr. Meehan.
I know I don't have all the facts, but I urge that we not go ahead with this. I think the target is wrong. We have a broad-based breakdown in society, and there are societal issues that are causing this. We can shoot arrows at the manufacturers, the distributors, the doctors, but I think we can go ahead with an educational program without all the money that's going to be involved in this litigation. Just allocate the funds and the education to deal with the opioid thing. I'm not going to vote for it.
Thank you, Mr. Meehan. Any other discussion before I ask the clerk to proceed with the vote?
Thank you very much.
One last question, Mr. Longham.
Why your law firm, rather than the Attorney General of the State of Tennessee?
Well, he hasn't decided he's going to do it. And a state case, as you've seen in the past, is 95 counties with the money going into the state. We just believe this is a better model. And that's why the counties in West Virginia opted out. They could have gotten a piece of the state's case. Your CTASC has said, well, why don't we wait and see what our Attorney General may or might not do.
Are you labeling this a class action suit?
No, sir. It's an individual lawsuit.
Class action suit.
Not a class action, no. It'll be Carter County versus Washington County versus, now we may all get done in together, but it'll be like, a case where we have a finite number of people. I mean, it's not unusual if you think about it. The issues are probably almost identical, but the damages are so much different.
Madam Clerk, if you would, proceed with the vote. You've heard the motion. The motion made is to hire the firm of Jesse and Jesse to file this litigation. All those in favor respond with aye. Those opposed, nay.
Would you state it? Name again, please. Would you state the motion, please?
The motion is to hire the firm to go ahead and initiate the litigation. Reveal the vote. 12 ayes, 11 nays, the motion failed. Thank you, Attorney. Next item, acceptance of minutes from the previous meeting. You have a copy of the minutes in your packet. You've had an opportunity to review that. Chair will entertain a motion pertaining to the minutes. Have a motion by Hill. Who was the second? Second by Mr. Johnson. Any amendments or corrections, additions? Any discussion? Madam Clerk, proceed with the vote. All those in favor of accepting the minutes as submitted, respond accordingly. Mr. Lyons. Mr. Lyons, please. Reveal the vote. 23 ayes, motion passes. Next items, clerk has advised that there's no notary and bonds this month, okay? So we'll move on to item 13, which is a Health Services Agreement Amendment 3, Carter County and Health Partners. Captain Smith, would you like to speak upon that? You have a copy of it in your packet.
That's just the yearly process when we go through where some of the health partners and I negotiate the contract between medical services rendered at jail facility for the inmate.
County attorney has reviewed the contract and find it acceptable to form.
Yes.
There was no increase in the contract from last year to this year.
Make a motion to approve.
I have a motion made by Commissioner Lyons, second by Mr. Jenkins. Any discussion before I ask the clerk? Yes, sir, Commissioner Acuff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As Captain Smith said, the annualized amount is $411,207.48. In the budget packet for this particular item, that was what it was for last year, and would you like to explain that? There's a $5,000 increase. I would assume that that will be not be used and either returned to a fund, in the general fund, or to the sheriff's office.
Tom has a comment.
I did forget to mention that. That is for the current TB testing, which was implemented this year. Southern Health Partners absorbed that last year. This year, they said they couldn't absorb that. There is a $5,000 increase to pay for that.
Okay, so the, instead of 411, would be 416. Okay.
Yes, Commissioner.
You have any problem with this contract? Have they been what you're supposed to?
It's tremendous savings to the county. Any other discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, proceed with the vote. All those in favor respond with aye. Those opposed, nay. Unanimous, 24 ayes. Next item is the COPS grant application. This is a application that was submitted by the Sheriff's Department. It was very sensitive time frame that had to be submitted. I have signed that contract. We've submitted. It's to secure, in hopes of securing, funding for SROs at schools. Captain Smith, would you like to expand upon that?
It's actually the COPS grant was around many years ago under the Obama administration. They had cut it out. I got on the website and happened to be on it one night and found that they had reinstated this grant. And only that we were needing our SRO no element, and I think they're actually talking about putting an SRO with the Tennessee Technology Group. This program actually pays 75% of the salary, I believe, for the first 5 years, 2 or 3 or 5. And I guess we're negotiating with the school systems now to pay the remaining 25%.
Yeah, there is not a copy in your packet. You weren't provided that because of the time frame. I just need to, I noticed some of you in search of. The captain, because of the time-sensitive nature of this, it was filed and it went on down. County attorneys reviewed that as well.
Yeah, I reviewed it the day before it had to be submitted, and I just saw that it needed county legislative body approval. So that's what we're doing, just to make sure the grant's not jeopardized in the event it's approved. Of course, we're just submitting for a grant, so if we get it, great, and if we get it and you all don't want it, I couldn't imagine why, but you can turn it down. So that had to move forward, and it's just a standard application.
I make a motion, Mr. Chairman, we accept this.
I have a motion made by Commissioner Trivett to allow the grant application to stand, second by Mr. Holdren. Any discussion?
How about I ask a question? You got the contract, say one gets hurt. They all counsel says, we don't need a resource officer. We take our, one of the minutes, say something different, that's all right. Are we gonna have people honor that contract? I'll get in the mess we were in last year, but,
Well, the only thing we can do is offer. It's up to the school board to accept.
up to the school board,
Well, the school system, whoever they go through to get it through.
because we don't want to be left out. If our one gets hurt in the class, we don't want our school little bit in the class.
Commissioner Miller, that's a different issue. That's a contract with school system designating X number of SROs that you're going to have and any replacement thereof. This is just the application for a grant, possible grant, to get funding to help support that program. Correct me if I'm wrong.
That's correct.
Sort of to give us the opportunity to rectify the problem.
Okay. Any other discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, proceed with the vote. All those in favor of this COPS grant application being authorized to continue as submitted, to respond with aye. Those opposed, nay. Mr. Lewis. Mr. Lewis, are you in favor or against the application? Okay, that's not a problem. Items passed unanimously. The next item is amendment of board rules pertaining to reading of resolutions, and I'll let the county attorney address that.
Based on what we talked about in prior months, I'm proposing this amendment to the rules of procedure for the commission, so we don't have to have a verbatim reading of the resolutions, which in nights like tonight would be very tedious. And instead, based on what's been suggested, I simply read it and explain what it is and answer any questions. So we don't have to go through the suspending of the rules every single time we read a resolution. That's all it is.
Make a motion, we accept it.
I have a motion made by Commissioner Holdren, seconded by Grindstaff. Any discussion on the motion? Yes, sir, Commissioner Acuff?
I think, and I would agree, there's some resolutions in here that are pages long, and we certainly would want our attorney to give a synopsis of what is in that resolution. However, I would caution us to be judicious in how we use this, because not everybody who is sitting out here tonight have a copy of this any of the resolutions. So out of courtesy and transparency, I think we owe it to the citizens we represent that many of those shorter resolutions be read. Thank you.
You're welcome. And also along those lines, as far as transparency is concerned, we do upload a complete packet, commissioner's packet, each week to the cartercountyn.gov website.
And I think resolutions such as naming bridges or of special significance or something of that nature, I mean, certainly I would suggest that those be read. But I think changing the rule this way would make the more mundane resolutions and reading word for word those things, instead of having to modify or suspend the rules each and every time to skip those, I think we could modify the rules to read the ones that need to be read. Sorry.
And also, if there's any citizens ever that would ask for a copy, we can give them a hard copy right from the mayor's office, because we want to make certain that all of our citizens have an opportunity to have the same information that you have in preparation of meetings. Mr. Lewis.
I have to agree with Mr. Acuff here. We are responsible for the citizens out here. We work for them. And if the attorney don't read this resolution, they don't know what's in there.
Any other discussion before I ask the clerk to proceed with the vote? Mr. Ward.
I'd also like to comment on both their discussion. I think we need to read resolutions for citizens.
Mr. Garland.
I agree with that. What it would take if we decided to have a road resolution read, would we need to make a motion to have it read that?
Technically, yes, because as of now, the rules say they're read, so we have to suspend the rules every time I don't read them. So it'd be vice versa, just suspend the rules to read them.
So just be conscious of that, and if there's a particular resolution that you're insistent upon be read, then be ready to make the motion, okay? Any other discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, proceed with the vote. All those in favor respond with aye, those opposed nay. Reveal the vote. 18 ayes, motion passes. So there has been the rule change. Now we'll get, yes, sir.
I move we take the game in for it, please.
Stand in recess for 10 minutes. We are now back in session. If you would, please take your seats. Take your seats. If you would, please take your seats. If there's any commissioners in the hallway, please make your way back to the gallery. Ms. Culler.
Yes, Mayor, I would like to request that Mr. Randall Lewis come forward and give an explanation about the 20 million, and also that our finance director would also give an explanation about the 6 million.
Okay, 1 second. Finance Director may be a while. Mr. Lewis, would you like to come ahead and enlighten us? Okay, here are our directors and Vice Mayor Kennedy.
Sir, I requested that you give an explanation about the 6 million, please.
And Mr. Lewis to explain the $20 million that's in question. You didn't specify who goes first. I don't guess it matters.
The 6 million I have, I'm honestly not sure where that came from. My office does not keep funds. Very little funds come through our office at all as far as revenue. If we do get in, we receipt in on a paper receipt, hand that check back, hand the receipt back into whoever brought the funds, and then take it immediately down to the trustee's office. So I would need a little more information myself before I could answer anything about the 6 million because I don't have money in my office.
Okay, Mr. Lewis, the 20 million, that's a big question.
Okay. I mentioned that a few months ago. Just wanted to tell you how many funds we had, which is really good, I think. But it's like a wheel. And when the tax season rolls around, that wheel's rolling really good. And then when the tax season in the summertime, that's not to say we still don't take permits, fee monies, and also we still take tax dollars. Of course, if anybody comes in after February, they do pay a penalty. We can do that year round. But the majority of it comes in during the tax seasons, which is between October and February. So as of right now, in CDs, we have a total of $17,816,792.82 in our CDs. In our checking, we have $10,371,888.40 at this time. Now tomorrow, what I quoted you in the checking account with over 10 million, it could go to 8 million, just like that. That is the side of the pond and how many bills are paid through the finance department. The reason there is CDs out there, it is up to the trustee there's a checking account. And if there's money available to go get a better interest rate out for a CD. It's my job to do that. Last year, we were receiving no more than 0.25% on our checking. So we went out throughout Carter County and let different facilities bid on our money, the county's money. And so they did that. And whoever comes up with the highest bid, that's who is rewarded for it. We cannot go to credit unions. The law will not allow us to do that. So when that checking account is set there and the bills are paid, it's my job to see if there's enough money in that checking account to pay the bills for the finance department. So when it starts getting low, we have a CD coming due. It's my job to cash that in to make sure we got enough money to cover the bills, if you will. So that money that's in CDs, that money that's in the checking account is all the same money. There's no difference in it. It's always a rolling. If we did not collect taxes this coming year at all, it wouldn't take very long, and I think Ms. Krista would tell you we couldn't function much longer if we didn't collect taxes. It's just my job, as you know, to collect it. And if there's any idle funds, now when I say idle funds, it's just money in the checking account. If we're just drawing 0.25% and we got X amount of dollars sitting out here, why would I leave it sitting in a checking account? I want to get it out there where we can get more interest for our money. We did do a new contract with a local bank, with the same bank. And anything up to $10 million, we're getting 1.25%. Anything over 10 million, we're getting 1.5%. So, does anybody have any questions?
If you don't care, Randall, I'm just gonna add a little bit.
Okay.
So all the money Randall has is all of the county's funds. And we talk about solid waste and school department and federal programs and food service and debt service. So Randall is not, when he talks about all these funds, and he's mentioned those numbers up, that is not just your general fund. That is all of the county's funds that are set aside for specific purposes. So even how we're going to talk about those funds that are drawn down and what's left, the remainder of what's left is not all the general funds. If you'll look at the report that's in the back of your packet from the trustee's office, it has it broken down, general fund, school department, so you can kind of see how much goes to each fund.
Mr. Lewis, I think you touched on this, and I understand you're restricted on where you can put those funds for the CDs.
Yes, ma'am. We cannot, the law will not let us approach or go to a credit union. Through the years that we have been dealing with local banks here, we have been getting the most interest for our money, I can tell you that. I have had numerous calls in the past from other states. We have people in these local facilities that live here, that work here, and I want to be as obligated as I can to them to make sure our money stays in Carter County. Yes, sir.
I'd like to see how many times the dollars invested locally in the local financial institutions actually turn over in the local economy. I can't find that anywhere. I think that would be a really interesting statistic. But the best rate I found, and it was some bank not in Tennessee, was 0.65% on a 12-month CD. So the rates that you're getting here look really good. And I just wanted to commend you on that, sir. And my question would be, why only Could you explain why only a 12-month CD? If you could just tell everyone why you invested in multiple CDs, only 12 months at a time, or in shorter increments, if you wouldn't mind.
Now, there is one that we went 2 years with, one.
And is that the rope line the state imposes on us?
No, it isn't.
It isn't?
Not to my understanding. With the election, which we just had the presidential election, I pay close attention to that. Seems like any time that comes around, the presidential election, we have an election, seems like the rates always shoot up. I will tell you this coming August, we have 6 CDs that are around $12 million. So when they come due, the rate, again, is 1.25 up to 10 million, 1.5 over 10 million. So we're gonna, if the county's got over 10 million, we're at 1.5%. If another institution can't be competitive with that, I've got no choice to put it in the checking. So see, we've got the checking, we've got CDs. But if they come, when they come ready to renew, I've got no choice to put it in the checking because the checking is going to be bringing better interest than the CDs. Now, it has flip-flopped through the years. It might be a few years the checking does better. It might be a few years the CDs does better. But anyhow, Mr. Lyons.
I was going to ask the same question. I'm not sure you answered about why the CDs are in for 12-month period. Is that to pay the bills? Is that why they do 12 months at a time?
I have to be really careful to put that money out there too far. They might be an emergency situation, et cetera, et cetera. I want to be real careful, even though we might be getting better rate for our CD. Now, we may go, at times we went 90 days. We went 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, and we have went 2 years. But at that time, on that 2 years, it was a lot better rate at that time than we were getting for our money.
Could I ask another question?
Yes, sir.
I was doing some research over the weekend. I think I'm right on this, but I want to make sure with you. The money that you have in reserve, is that money also potentially used for disaster or disasters that could come along?
That is completely up to the county, to the finance department. It's my job to see that the checking account is supplied with enough funds to take care of the bills.
That decision, are you saying that decision is Bird's or yours?
It would be the commission.
County commission?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So a lot of the money that Randall has is idle funds, as he calls them, is the accumulation of all your funds, fund balances. So your general fund balance, your school fund balance, and those are the funds in case of emergency that you would do an amendment to use.
Okay. One of the things I wanted to clear up was Ms. Bird is very limited in her decision-making on where the money's going. That's passed by the full commission. She has roles and responsibilities. I think there's some indecision as to who's making the decisions with the money. Is that?
That's correct. I have no authority as to where money is budgeted, how it is spent. The budget is set by budget committee and then of course through you all. Again, the budget amendments are approved through budget committee and then full commission. Audit will come and check us every year and make sure I did not move any money that was not approved and go back and look. That has never been a finding. That's something they check every year.
Mr. Lewis, I have a question for you if I may. Since you started talking and explaining to us your investments and the trends, you did indicate one time you had funds that were out there for 2 years. Can you tell us what the amount of that was above and beyond? Because that had to be funds that weren't obligated during that period.
That would have been fund balances.
Okay.
I don't know if I can find it. Do you have it?
But I'm just, the question I have, if we can put it in a CD for 2 years, and that's money that you do not need immediate to do your annual budgeting process, those would be a reserve aside from the budget. If you're gonna dedicate, so how much was that?
Okay, that was, those 2 years was $1 million,
Okay.
and it was at 0.445%. I do not know if I'm accurate here, or close, but if I'm not mistaken, the checking account wasn't even 0.20.
One other question, Ms. Culler, and I'll get right to you as well. The question I have also, I know the statute provides for an investment committee. Has there been any discussion at any point in time for that committee, or is that just something?
That's completely up to the county commission to set that.
Okay.
Welcome. So,
Well, I was just wondering if, since your time here, has there been any discussion along those lines? They've entrusted you and the, okay.
not to my knowledge.
Okay, understand. Ms. Culler?
One more question. The monies that we're speaking of right now, in the checking and in the CD, that is to be used to pay the bills between now and October when the tax money starts coming in. Is that correct?
Yes, of course, again, the finance department takes care of all the bills. I'm just to make sure it's there for the availability. Again, when there's one CD payment due, we gotta make sure that it's in the checking. This 50 CDs is all the same. It's not stagnant, it's always a road. Again, if we can collect taxes this year, it wouldn't take long before we broke.
Mr. McQueen?
Just a couple questions for clarification purposes. You mentioned that there were 6 CDs coming up in August that were roughly how much in?
12 million.
Okay. On those CDs, do we know what the rate is on those currently?
Yes, if I get my eyes focused here. We have one coming due, August the 2nd, if I can find it.
0.65, sir. Yeah, 0.65%.
So if those are the sort of interest rates that are on those CDs now, with the much better rate you negotiated with the local banks, which is great work, we could be projecting a much larger return on that investment on such a large sum of money.
That is correct.
CDs of $12 million. And that could certainly help us towards balancing our budget moving forward.
Again, that's up to, the finance department, you guys balancing.
Randall, 2 things. I would make it clear, by state law, you may not invest funds out of the state of Tennessee unless that bank is headquartered in Tennessee. Is that correct?
That's to my knowledge.
Without a finance investment committee, you may not invest funds more than 2 years. Is that correct?
I'm not 100% knowledgeable on that. I can't really answer. Yes, sir.
Is there a statute on the books that says you cannot go out of the county or the state? Do you rates?
I don't think there was a statute that says we stay in the county.
Let's look at this hypothetical situation. You've got $20 million at the end of your collection period. At what point do you reach 10 million normally? Half a year, 4 months of spend down on that 20 million? Do you spend down, Krista, at 6 months, you're half done, or how does that work?
He's talking
Now,
about.
here's what I'm getting at. It doesn't matter when. What it matters is, if you're not spending half of it at a half a year, that other half ought to be out big time at 3.5%, 4% interest.
Can I get somebody to quote,
Something to think
some
about.
information on that? Ms. Carla?
Just,
Come on up, Miss Carla.
just a thought.
Carla
I'll give
is
you
from
some
a,
numbers someday.
she's from a local bank here, and I would like for her to tell you her information that she has received through the years when we have approached these banks in Carter County, to her knowledge, what about our interest rate?
Okay, every week we have a money management company that contacts all banks in East Tennessee, North Carolina, Virginia, credit unions, regular banks. Randall has always received a significantly higher interest rate than any bank in this area. Randall can only invest for a 2-year CD. He cannot go over 2 years. He has to invest in a bank that at least has a branch, and preferably their main branch in the state of Tennessee. He cannot invest in a credit union. So he is limited on what he can invest in. Nowhere is he going to receive 3 or 4% interest right now. What he's receiving right now is higher than, I believe Mr. Hill had searched, and what was the best interest rate you had?
12-month CD was 0.65%, and it was some bank in Florida. It wasn't Santander, but that sounds kind of similar.
Randall, when we started talking about this, I did a search for CD rates in the state of Tennessee. And as of Friday, the highest one that I could find was 0.65, and it was in a Middle Tennessee bank. You've done much better than that, and you're to be commended for doing that. You got the highest here of one at 0.95. The lowest that you show on this budget, on this investment sheet that I have, is 0.45.
That's the 2 years.
Yeah.
But again, the
But it's coming good too.
But again, the checking was way down.
Yeah, I understand.
But anyhow, you know, it's just our job to do the best we can for the citizens of Carter County. I'm proud of that. You know, we get audited every year. The audit speaks for itself. My staff has done an exceptionally good job helping me run the office. And I will commend all these offices throughout the county. We get audited. We're not perfect, but we try to do the best of our ability to invest the best we can. Yes, Mr. Lewis.
Mr. Lewis, when these CDs come due in August, you said, how much interest do we get off these CDs? $12 million.
Right now, we've got one that's been out there a year. It comes due August the 17th, and it's $2 million. It's around 0.60. Again, the checking was under 0.25%. Okay. Another one, August the 11th, 0.603 million. Another one, November, now let me restate that. Yes, I was right, August the 11th. The next one is November the 11th, the 18th, it comes due on 2 million, it's 0.70. The next one is April the 4th, we cashed that one in. The next one is April the 4th of 2018, that was 0.95, the highest one we got. The next one is February the 8th of 2018, which is 0.80. The next one is August the 17th at 0.55 at 3 million. And then the one on 2 years is 0.45. Again, that the checking was really low at that time. And the next one would be, we've already cashed that one in. That was on May the 22nd of 2017. All the rest of them. See, another one is August the 15th, 0.64 at $1 million. And the next one coming due actually was just the last one. I went backwards when I started the top and down, but the next one is August the 2nd of $2 million at 0.65%. So we're going from 0.45 to 0.95 up to 1.5% on all this, guaranteed.
What I need to know is,
Guaranteed.
from June 30th, 2016,
June the 30th.
June the 30th, 2015, June the 30th, 2016, how much interest did we get on that?
I can answer that right now. I can print it off tomorrow if you want to come by.
What did we get for 1,000, 500,000?
I can't answer it, John. I don't have the information in front of me.
Well, Mr. Lewis and Mr. Lewis, we really appreciate you taking time to at least give some explanation to the commission. One of the things that you are indicating, folks, if you would please, one of the things that it seems like you're indicating that the economy is in a rebound, it's improving, interest rates are on the rise. You likewise have made comment that the revenues are increasing significantly out of your office alone, not counting the assessments, which would add to that. Mr. Carroll.
What I would like to know, or this commission should have, is a minimum balance that's in our account for at least the budget year, or maybe for 3 budget years. That'll tell us how much money we've got. And what the minimum balance is, monthly or however, that'll tell us how much money we've got.
And again, it goes back to bills being paid.
Right, just so everybody, I've said it, and it's probably the last time I say it, just so if everybody will try and hear me. All what Randall has is cash. What I do is budget. So Randall, if he has 10 million, that is not all general fund money. That is the cumulative of all the county's funds. So what do you have extra that you could use for general fund, for schools? That's your fund balance. That's what you have. So if you have 5 million in fund balance for general fund, and you don't want to raise taxes to cover your expenditures, that's what you have to use, is your fund balance. In highway, you have $2 million, just a little short in fund balance. If you don't want to raise your revenues to meet your expenditures, $2 million is what you have, it's your fund balance. What cash we have is important in a very different aspect. But for budgeting, what's important is your fund balance. If you made a motion to set expenditures at 15 million and revenues at 14 million, the difference is coming from your fund balance, which at the end of the day, yes, it does come from Randall's cash. But what do you have for general fund? Your general fund balance. What you have for highway, your highway fund balance. Randall's cash is not a factor in that scenario. If that makes any sense.
So,
It's not in
That
addition.
does not answer my question. What I'm asking is, what is the minimum balance that we have? That'll tell us how much. Listen, if I've got.
I really tried, Mr. Carroll, I really did.
If I've got $100 in the bank, and I write checks on that, and that balance never goes down below $50, I've got $50.
And that would be your fund balance.
So that's what I'm wondering, how much is that?
$5 million, general fund. 1.9 highway. Again, we talked about it. Anything below 2.5 in general fund, I find critical. The TGFOA says 2 months expenditures, which would be 2.6 million, is critical. You know as well as I do, every month after we set a budget, we come back, we want to take this from fund balance, we want to take that from fund balance. So you're quickly getting to where I'm not comfortable if we keep taking from fund balance. Last year, we took $472,000 from fund balance. As presented now, with the tax increase, we are taking $438,000 from general fund balance. We are taking $683,000 from highway fund balance. So with this increase, we have not balanced our budgets, and I want everyone to understand that. You are digging and digging into your fund balance, and yes, $5 million sounds like a lot, and it is a lot of money. But when you need money for cash flow to get you through until your property taxes come in, when you need money for emergencies, when you have a flood and you have to be able to pay those first responders until you can get your reimbursements from FEMA and TEMA, which can take years, that's not a lot of money, and we keep digging and digging. So if we're not gonna raise taxes, we need to figure out what are we gonna do to make our ends meet. We can't just keep taking from our fund balance, because one day you're gonna run out of fund balance and you're gonna have a massive tax increase, and that is not fair to your citizens either.
And with that, I think that's a discussion for a later date. I do know during the budget hearings and the like, there was a proposal to consider putting rules in place that would be a stop at this point. You're not close to that level at this point, but it's something that needs to be addressed. So with that,
One more comment, Mayor, if I could, please. I want to thank you, Randall, for what you and your people do. Thank you for sticking to and getting the returns that you're getting. As I said earlier, you're better in the state. Krista, thank you for what you do. Now, tonight I heard, for our citizens' purpose, a number of accusations. If you think the Budget Committee or anyone else in county government is doing something illegal, you can go to comptroller.tn.gov. You'll have to enter in your name to register a complaint with the comptroller's office. You can't pull a fictitious name like a Comer Gantry out of a picture and put it in there. You have to add your name, and they are by law required to investigate your complaint or charge.
Mr. Chair.
yes, Mr. Lyons, I would like to move on if we could. We've already taken up so much time, and Mr.
I really
Lewis.
feel like it's my responsibility to say something here.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
As the chairman of the Financial Management Committee, and I'm speaking, I hope, for all that Financial Management Committee, we have not, and I have not, detected any fraud, intentional stealing, under-the-table stealing. If I were to see anything like that, I would be the first person to call what Dr. Acuff just pointed out, and that's what I was going to speak to without being recognized first. But I want you to know, Mr. Rowe, I appreciate you, Mr. Lewis, working with me on my research because you know what you did. And Krista, we've always been able to work through this process. This process is hard to follow. There's no question about it. This process is hard to follow. But we are following it real well, and I think through at least the committee I serve on. And I will be the first one to say that it's so complicated, it's hard to keep up with it because there's so many processes, so many things going on. But I have not, and I don't want to hear no more, really, that Ms. Bird's lying, and I know Mr. Lewis has lied to me, but Ms. Bird works pretty much daily with me. I will be the first one to report.
Okay, with that, I think we've thoroughly covered all the concerns and questions. I appreciate it, Randall. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Bird.
All it speaks for itself. Any citizen wants to come by and meet with us, we'll be glad to meet with them.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis.
Okay, with that, we do have other business, quite a bit of business to take care of tonight. First is a resolution authorizing the county mayor to sign Tennessee Department of Health contract. This is a standard contract that we have each year. Unfortunately, it did fall into the wrong cubbyhole at the state of Tennessee. We just got that this week, this past week. We just barely did get it down to the clerk's office and to the attorney on time to get it in your packets. This is something we normally take care of back in June of each year in order to get it filed timely. So time is of the essence. It's a standard contract for our health services at the health department. You've had a copy of it. Chair will entertain a motion pertaining to this resolution. Have a motion made by Mr. Johnson. Second by Mr. Garland. Gentlemen, I just hear them as I can. There may be a little delay here, okay? Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, proceed with the vote. All those in favor of allowing the county mayor to make this application for the contract or sign the contract, respond accordingly. Ms. Brown, confirm, please. Reveal the vote. Unanimous. Next item is The resolution fixing the tax levy in Carter County, setting the rate at a new amount of $2.49 per 100 of assessed value.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Lewis.
I have to commend Mr. Lewis and Mrs. Bird. They do a good job. They nobody never said they didn't do a good job. But I sit on the budget committee, and I have to admit, when they presented this tax increase to us, this is what I was told by Ms. Coles. Said her and the bookkeeper had sat down and looked at this plan to raise property taxes 4 cents. Now, in my opinion, I think we should have been informed of this before the night we had to vote on it. Of course, I wasn't no one. Now, my motion is that we deny this 4 cents tax increase. And if you have to, we go back to the state of Tennessee to get an extension and let the budget committee sit down and see if we can on out a budget without this 4% tax increase.
Mr. Lewis, can I make certain I clarify that motion before we, I just want to make certain before we go on. Bottom line is, you're saying that we don't set the tax rate at $2.49, you want it to remain at $2.45. Is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Can we keep it simple?
Yes, sir.
Can I complicate it? I do need it broken down between the 4 funds. If you say leave it the same as last year, that gives me the information I need. Because as you know, we reallocated
Sure.
in, so.
Mr. Lewis?
To leave it how it was, because if you remember, a note came off in debt service. We were able to take a little bit of that money and so it's balanced and apply it to general fund. Are you wanting to do that? Or you
According to
wanting
my figure, we had $1 million come off. I can show you paperwork on that. So that's one more.
But we're dealing with this resolution, and for time's sake, for everyone's sake, I just want to make certain we do this and we do it properly, because we don't get to come back tomorrow. And I don't want to be here at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning either, and I don't think any of you do or any of the people. So we're trying to do this as methodically as we can. We have a resolution that's setting the new tax rate at $2.49. But your motion, just to be certain, is that this does not go into effect. We leave the tax rate at the $2.49, leaving those funds same as last year.
Same allocation. You want the tax rate the same as exactly.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Lewis to leave the tax rate same as last year's amount. Do I hear a second?
I second.
I have a second by Mr. Miller, okay? Now, we're getting somewhere. Discussion. Mr. Garland.
Finance Director Bird, if this doesn't pass, we keep it at 245, what is the figure that it's going to take to fund all of this?
For your general fund, that leaves you $945,872 out of balance. You're taking that much from your fund balance. It's almost $1 million. You're taking 11.42 cents out of your fund balance.
Okay.
And that's, again, that's just general fund. You've got highway, that you're still taking 8 cents out of their fund balance, which that didn't really change with this one or the other.
And the bottom line, I guess, that means that your fund balance would remain then with this deduction at what amount? If you left every...
And again, just so everybody's fully aware, what I have now for fund balance is an estimate, because I'm going to take my revenues that we got in 16, 17, minus my expenditures, and that's going to add or subtract from my amount now.
This is an estimate.
And
Best
revenues
guess.
come in until the end of August, so.
Bear with her just 1 second.
So
This
that
is
will
important.
put you at 4.3 million. Now the other caution I want to make sure everyone's aware. If you remember last year, we set the budget with general fund being $472,000 in the hole, taking from your fund balance. Our problem this year we're trying to overcome was last year. We basically came up with enough revenue to cover the increase that we created this year. But we've got the hole that we dug the year before. So if you do this, at some point, you're gonna have to fill that void. And I don't think it's fair to your citizens to come back in a couple of years with a massive tax increase because you kept digging into your fund balance, and then you don't have anything left. And that's gonna be the end result, if you keep taking from your fund balance year after year.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Mr. Hill?
This blew all my math all to pieces probably, but the four pennies we're talking about taking back off, that's 1.6%, right? We're still at 1.6
1.6% of what?
of the ad valorem rate.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So I'd like to ask, it's my committee, highway committee, so I want to pick on Mr. Colbuck. I asked him this before the meeting. What would a 6%, well, excuse me, a 1.6% cut to your existing budget look like? And I'm at that at $6,555.16. What would $6,000 look like in a, would we cut services or people, or what would you cut?
We would be cutting our miscellaneous work duties that we do for people, from drainage, fixing the pavement in front of driveways. We have a lot of calls in about drainage problems that's county roads to help people keep water off of their property or a little flooding that they get. That type of work that we do for us. I don't think we look at the snow and ice. We're definitely fantastic. But a little positive.
Thank you.
If I may, let Director Byrd make a statement, then I'll get to Mr. Carroll.
I'm not sure Ms. Coe was done, but I'm interrupting. Just so everyone's aware, highway department is similar to the school system in that they have a funding requirement, and that's a local funding requirement. So we talked about the gas tax and how much that will increase. We cannot offset our local funding with that. They have a 5-year average. If we go below that, the state withholds that much money from us. So it hurts the highway department twofold. They're not getting that revenue from the county, and they're withheld that much money from the state as well.
Right, and assuming that, I actually asked Ms. Gooch a similar question before the meeting. What would a 1.6% cut in your budget result in? What would be cut from your office? And that looks like, hold on, about $7,635.69.
Well, it would mean, that would mean probably have to close on Saturday.
So a reduction in services. This is what you're talking about when you're talking about making these cuts. And I don't want to see an ad valorem tax rate increase either, but at a certain point, you're gonna start cutting into the services that we provide. I had a constituent to write me a really well thought out email praising us for delivering a lot of service for not a whole lot of money, in his opinion. And I'm not trying to propose a solution here. I just think that if we looked at every budget and what these cuts would mean to every budget, it would paint a bigger picture of what folks are actually advocating us doing away with or trying to do without.
But at this point in time, with this current budget, Mr. Hill, there's not any cuts. That's not proposed. We're not into that level. We're talking about tax rate. The amount of money that's being discussed here is right at $1 million required, pulling from the general fund, pulling it down to $4.3 million, which is much above the minimum that's been discussed here today. So, Mr. Carroll.
I know that this money is not just going to fall in out of the sky at one time. But there's new money that we've got coming in. The interest rate increases. Won't that make up, close to, maybe not all of it, but close to this 4 pennies?
It might. Again, interest rates fluctuate. I am very hesitant to budget revenue that we have not yet received. I like to see that we're actually going to get it, how it's coming in, because my job is to estimate revenues on a cautious side, because if I estimate that I'm going to get this much in revenue, if I don't get it, that's coming from your fund balance too. And again, the mayor's talking about this 4.3, that's safe. Well, again, if your revenues don't come in like you think they will, that's coming from your fund balance too, even if you didn't budget for it to. So, sales tax, we have a budgeted figure for that, but we don't control sales tax like we do property tax. So if it's not coming in high enough, as what we budgeted for some reason, the economy starts to go down, that's coming from your fund balance to cover the difference as well. So your fund balance is something you need to have a healthy amount so that you can cover any of your unforeseen circumstances, including your revenue not coming in as high as you think.
Mr. Lyons, Ms. Culler, I'm not sure which one came out of the seat first. I apologize. You know, Ms. Culler, go ahead.
First, I'd like to give an explanation to the comment that Mr. Lewis made, if I may. Each member of the budget was asked to look at the budget and come up with some ideas. I thought with my idea, no one else did. Yes, I did, but meet with Ms. Burke to make sure I was in line with what we needed in this county. I would like to caution you, I don't want to raise taxes any more than anybody else, but I need to realize that we are using fund balance money, and we're going deeper and deeper and deeper into the fund balance, and we need to make some corrections, and this is an amount that could help us begin to make those corrections.
Mr. Lyons.
I just wanted to make a comment if I could, Mr. Mayor. This floor stance that we're proposing, which would be the 429, it's my understanding that will not get us through the year. We still need about 9 more cents. Is that correct?
If you wanted a balanced budget,
That's what I'm talking
yes,
about.
yes,
If
you
we're
would.
balancing the budget for the upcoming year, we really need about 12 or 13 cents total. 13.
13.
Why didn't we go ahead and take
13.5.
this? I'll say my comments, but thank you.
Mr. Peters.
We need to think, about what Mr. Christie said a while ago. Last year, we funded some raises and different things. We didn't appropriate the money for it. So that's what we're doing this year. We're catching up because we took out fund balance last year. Okay, we're kicking the can down the road. Next year, we're going to be in great shape. You're going to be talking about more than 4 cents next year. Now, we was all for it, giving them raises last year, but we only funded them for 1 year. We've got to fulfill those raises that we gave to the employees. And if we don't do it this year, then next year it's going to be done.
Commissioner Miller.
Raising taxes is not a good thing for poor people in Clay County. I talked to one of my colleagues here. He said, I make $30,000 working for the county. Hey, I'm working North America County. I'm not all $1,100 a month. Look at the money. That's $2,000 more. Sure, we can pay a fortune raise. I got out and talked to a lady this week. She said, Doc, they raised my value on my property $3,000. Now listen, folks, this is simple. A $245 on $1,000 is $24.50. Right? Is that right? On $3,000 it's $73.50. That's extra money come in. I know some a lot of people have their property appraisal raised, right? How many people have this? Wow. Where did that money go, or where is it? Now, right here, this lady paid $73. Why you do things to else instead of digging on that? That's $73.50 more. The county comes from this one lady because she built her ramp to get into her house, which she should have had a tax.
Oh, okay. First of all, clarification. I hear your calculations. I'm hearing something else up here.
First of all, I'm highly offended, and I think that's completely inappropriate. I don't think you would say that to a man. Second of all, the increase on the property tax is what you're talking about, the value of a penny. That's calculated every year, it's given to Budget Committee, and it's put into the calculations to balance the budget.
Basically, it equates.
All you're gonna do is just raise the value of your property, and you're gonna pay $245 on every 100. Am I right? Because your office told me that. Downstairs, I went to them, the lady down there said, you pay $245 on every 100. That's $24.50 on 1,000. How many people pay their taxes? Do we need tax increase? No, because there's money coming in every year, a lot more than for.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Mr. Lewis, and we'll get back to you here in just a second.
It's gonna take a minute. If Ms. Peters remember, I believe I'm right on this. Last year, we did go in a hole, but we didn't have any projections of the office holders. They were supposed to have money into us, And they did, and that's what made the budget go in the whole last year, about me.
Okay, Mr. Lewis. Mr. Tester?
We worked very hard. We looked at this budget, the budget committee, some of our meetings were 4 hours long. And we cut every department right to the bottom, really underfunded 80% of them. No one likes to raise taxes. I pay taxes too. And what we want to do here is the same thing as taking a credit card and run out and run a big bill up, and then down the road we'll have a high interest. And Krista is right. If we don't, it's better to rate 4 cents, if I figured it right, is $7 if your house is approved or your property at $100,000. It's a $7 increase, something like that.
Okay.
You know, so it's not that much, but what I'm saying is we need to look at this, because if we don't, we'll look at the city, I live in the city, I pay city taxes too, they went by this and this raise, then they came along and raised it 15 cents. But that's a substantial raise, because if you can't do it, so we need to look at what we're doing and keep this county up and make them smaller raises instead of large ones. Thank you.
Mr. Garland?
I'd like to just add some statistics that were in yesterday's Star, a well-written article by Ms. Fry back there, Ms. Morris Fry. And Doc Miller talked about the property values, I guess, of underprivileged or whatever. A property value that is at $50,000, and this is with the 249, the 4 cent increase. And that increase for the entire year would be $5. $100,000 property would be a $10 increase per year.
Correct.
And if you're talking 300,000, $30, 500,000, 50, and $1 million property, you're looking at a $100 increase for the entire year.
Thank you for that clarification.
Also, and I'd like to add this, like Mr. Colbach said and Mr. Hill, if we don't fund this, and add an increase to this, you cut out services to the highway. I mean, fixing potholes, ditches. I get calls like that all the time. That's the majority of stuff. The folks in Arlington Drive that address the properties that are in shambles, garbage laying everywhere. We've talked about it in establishing an environmental court, which will have to be funded, and you have to get that off the ground with some money. And there'll be no way really to address anything like that. If there's not some money that we have to account for, the expenditures going.
Thank you, Mr. Garland. Is there any other discussion? Mr. McQueen?
To clarify again what Mr. Garland just said, on a house that's valued at $50,000, what are they going to pay extra with the new sales rate?
$50,000 would be $5, $100,000 would be $10.
So we're asking the
It's
property
basic.
owner, I know, just as the basic,
Yeah.
would be $5 more a year. On a-
It's depending on the value of the house.
Right, or 50,000 or 100,000 would be.
10.
That was
It's
based on
basic.
the increase in pay.
It's basically for every $100,000, 1 penny increase is $2.50. So you take the value of your home and how many pennies and multiply it and get what your dollar increase would be.
Mr. McQueen?
I think it's just at least part of fundamental differences in philosophies, and I think we can keep everything respectful in so saying that essentially there are 2 parts to it. I believe that.
Could you speak up just a bit? Some of them are indicating they're...
Gotcha, absolutely. Sorry about that. Again, I'm just speaking on the difference in philosophies. Essentially, I think there's some part that's not being seen because we've not set in place all the budget items. Therefore, there may be less money that will be actually expended versus what's projected to be expended. And I think the other part of it is essentially if we're going to take money now to balance the budget or allow the possibility of projected increased revenues to help balance that out. And I think really there's probably a good combination to be made of increased revenues with cutting some of the expenditures that we currently have. And that would mean having a long night, of course, and taking a look at a lot of budgets. But I think we owe it to our taxpayers to at least give the money that they've.
If you would, please give Mr. McQueen respect, one person at a time. Mr. McQueen.
I just feel that we owe it to our taxpayers. They've invested this money through us via taxes. It's their money to allow that money to grow with Randall Lewis doing a great job with the investments and potentially lessen that burden over time. Will we have to spend more money? Yes, of course, eventually taxes will have to go up, but I think we need to be absolutely imminent. And of course, with following in regards to not going below that balance. I don't think we should ever go against the advice of our finance director there. But there's a middle ground, and there's certainly a way to do this respectfully, and I ask that we do that.
Mr. Garland.
I'd like to add, and I sit on the budget committee as well, and, you know, I don't want to raise any taxes any more than anybody else. It affects me just as it does everybody in the audience. But part of this increase is it considers 1% for our paraprofessionals in the school system. And we were able to look at this through a study from Dr. Ward and the school board, and in some of their salaries with people that have worked 30 years and they're making $12 an hour, something like that. That's something that I don't think we are considering, and that $5 or the $10 that you see in the increase in your property tax, that goes to these folks. So you will be helping them out if that's something that might shine some light on that and makes you feel better about any type of increase that may be brought.
Mr. Carroll.
I want to speak on behalf of a lot of people in the county. If we talk about $5 in the context of somebody that makes even $20,000 a year, $5 ain't much. I know 2 households who are widow women. One of them is right beside me, down on D Street, who draw less than $500 on Social Security. And will live beside them that draws $485 a year. Now, the old house is paid for, but when she buys groceries, she don't run her air conditioner in the summertime. She don't run her heater in the winter. She puts a little heater in the bedroom. Her house leaks. By the time she gets through paying the bare minimum stuff, she runs out of money before she runs out of money. I'm speaking on behalf of people. Now, I know there's people here that can afford $5. Without a problem, there's a lot of people, and ask Mr. Lewis, there's a lot of people can't pay what we're charging them now, and they come in and make monthly payments on it just to get through to keep the county from taking the property and selling it. So I'm here on behalf of the people. I don't know about you guys, but I was raised up poor. You heard the saying that poor is Job's turkey. I ain't never read that Job had a turkey, but evidently he did. We was raised up poor. I know what it means to live very meager. There's people out here that are hurting, and we need to consider these people when we do this.
Any other discussion before I ask the clerk to proceed with the vote on this particular motion? Mr. Jenkins.
Well, I think we're up to about 20 of us that spoke. I might as well say my
Some more than once.
Yeah.
More than twice.
I mean, I don't know, I sat back here on the old page. I get a little upset to think about, you know, last year we gave a 3% raise, right? Let's go. So we gave 3% to our county last year. And this has got a 1%, like Ross said. And some of them has went years without getting raises. And I just think about that, me personally. I would work for a place that didn't get raises. Yeah, see you later. I would not do it anytime. I've been working ever since I was 16 years old. I would not work at a place that would not give a raise. And I don't know how that we sat through years without giving a county employees a raise. Now, as elected officials, it's our job to help the people and protect them. So what are we doing here by not taking care of our county employees so they can help our people of this community? I mean, because pretty soon, the sheriff, where's the sheriff at? Is he here tonight? He's a training facility over there. We keep them for 6 months, a year, and they move on, making $24,000 a year. Guys, I paid more over in Johnson City to flip burgers than $24,000 a year. Now, that's ridiculous. I just can't. Commissioner, I don't know what we're doing. We are not living in the 80s or the 90s. People's got to live. Now, I know we did our best with this 1% raise this year. I know we did. Budget committee, I commend you on it. I do, I commend you. You did what you could. But guys, if we just keep on and keep on by not raising taxes, I don't know who said it, but next year we're going to get hit. We're going to have to hit our taxpayers, us, with a 25-cent raise or whatever. You talk about getting phone calls about 4 cents. I bet we get a phone call every hour. I commend the people that work in the county and take care of us and run the day-to-day operations for what they get paid. Some of it's poverty level, guys. I don't know what I would do. I'd have to pack up and leave. I love Carter County, but I would pack up and leave if I got paid what some of these people got paid.
Question on that?
Mr. Lyons, and then I'll get Mr.
I
Miller.
have to use this example, and I think this is very, something you need to pay attention to. That 1%, and God, I did substitution work in the school system. Those people deserve what they're getting at 1%. But let's not forget people like, and I asked her if I could use her name, Ms. Wendy that works over at the animal shelter. She's worked there 17 years for $10 an hour. So if we're going to increase giving raises 1%, let's consider all of them. And that's why I keep going back to how much money we may have somewhere.
One last comment. Ever since I've been elected down here, I've been trying to get the poor people a raise in Carter County. This man right here is now vote rate. How many times has he voted not to give the people raises? I've kept up with it, boys. I've been turned down every time. My colleagues, boys, we don't need to give no raise. And I stuck up for the poor people of Carter County ever since I've been down here. Don't holler give 4 cents to $4, whatever, give them a raise, that ain't gonna get no raise.
Thank you, Commissioner. Madam Clerk, if you would proceed with the vote. All those in favor of the motion that was made, which is setting.
The motion, please.
Yes, ma'am. Shh. The motion was made by Mr. Lewis, second by Mr. Miller, to set the tax rate at $2.45 with all of the rates for each fund being same as last year. If you're in favor of that motion, respond with aye as the clerk proceed with the vote. Nay if you're opposed to it. Reveal the vote. Motion fails. 10 ayes, 14 nays. Chair will entertain another motion pertaining to this resolution.
I would like to make a motion that we set the tax rate at $2.49, just as in this resolution. I second.
Have a motion made by Culler, second by Dietz, to accept and adopt the resolution as submitted. Any discussion? Mr. Ward.
I'd like to ask the budget committee to go back and look and see if we can find other areas to cut. Because I'm sure there's areas that we can cut. I'm going to use an example. I don't like the example, but I'm going to use it anyway. Our inside agency, we fund them. 911. This year, they received $50,533 from the state for excess revenue. People, there's $50,000 that we could cut. There's more money we can cut if we go back and look. We really need to do that. We need to take care of the citizens of Carter County and go back to ground zero and start our budgets and see what we can cut. You know, I'm sure we have waste somewhere. We can come up with part of this money. We may not be able to come up with all of it. We can come up with some of it.
Commissioner Garland.
I'm up again. And then I've been talking to the finance department on this, the increase, I guess I'm four cents possibly. Have worked something up a little bit, and this is where we're able to touch on the 20 million, maybe get some of that revenues from interest that's being accrued in there. That if we did increase the tax rate 3 cents to 2.48, and then I think it's around 200,000, something like that, that could be appropriated to go towards the general fund from that interest revenue. And that's just something that I would like to, that I wanted to put out there to think about.
Thank you. Commissioner Von Cannon.
The one department that's getting hurt in this, you'll go
10 years, you will find that the highway department is the one that's getting the short end of the stick. Considering the fact that hopefully you'll get some money from the state based on the tax situation. Maybe they'll be all right this year, but they're the ones, go back and look at your percentage. They, for 12 years, 10 to 12 years, have always been on the short end of the stick. And they're, in my opinion, second, maybe the third most important department in the county. Because if those bridges fail, forget about educating the kids because they're gone. And that's all I've got to say is that the highway department needs some relief if we go to this new number.
Mr. Lewis,
Can you state that motion again?
her motion is to adopt the resolution as submitted at 249 with all the balances remaining here.
249.
Yes, sir.
What was my vote?
Yours was 245, sir.
So we going up
4 cents. No change. Mr. McQueen.
I think Commissioner Ward made a really good point when he's talking about.
Can't hear back.
Well, yeah, everybody's talking. But I think Commissioner Ward made a good point when he's talking about how much money there is to save. And it's certainly worth a second look, but also, is there a reason we wouldn't finalize exactly what we're funding each department before we do the rate? Because if we adjust the amounts per department and there's less money that needs to be recovered, and less of a hit to our fund balance, it seems like that would be more appropriate to do that one first. Taxes are forever. We raise the rate, it never goes down. This funding can be adjusted.
Mr. Lyons.
I promise you I'm not trying to fuss you, sir. This is too important, though. This is way too important. And I want to talk basically what you really are talking about. Because I, too, have been looking at some options. This is what I think it is, and I have it written down if someone wants it. Why can't we set aside some money out of the CDs that are going to mature, that you talk about, and use those CDs, or use that money? We can't do that.
I mean, you can, but that would be your fund balance.
That's what we're dealing with now, folks. I think there's just a little misunderstanding. One of the things that the commission needs to look at, there are projected revenues upwards of $500,000 next year. New revenues, we've heard that from Mr. Lewis. We've heard it from Mr. Taylor in the assessor's office, but at no point in time are we focusing on that. And I know it's projected revenues, but those numbers seem to be real.
Yes, and
Let me clarify. It's my understanding that what Mr. Garland said was, go to 248 or something like that, and then look at that $20 million to come up with other money. Is that what you said?
That was, that might be applied.
What difference is that from what I'm saying? Except where it comes from.
The only thing is, we're under a time constraint. We have to finalize this budget tonight. We can't go back to the drawing board, but going forward next year, we can look at those.
Ray, the only difference in what you're talking about and what Ross is talking about was we can take the interest from that money, but
That's what I'm talking about.
not the
I
actual,
said it.
just the interest, yes.
I did say interest. If I didn't, I only go on the record saying interest. I said as the CDs mature, take that interest and apply it in an account.
Folks, please let one person speak at a time. Mr. Lyons has the floor. Go ahead and finish, Mr. Lyons. Too many conversations. We can only one person talk at a time, please.
And if I can clarify one more time, the additional revenue that is coming from, if we want to say the assessor's office, from the reappraisal, is already included in your value of penny. So that's already in your budget. That's not something we can count again. So, it's out.
Any other discussion on this motion before I ask the clerk to proceed with the vote? Mr. Campbell.
I agree with Mr. Von Campbell too. I worked for the highway department for 4 years. Been there, and I'm not ashamed to tell you what I make. $12 up an hour. Been there 40 years. And
know, we fell behind, as Mr. Jenkins said, somewhere down the line. I started out at $2.30 an hour. I said, this is ridiculous. I'm not, sitting here and saying, for tax raise and all this, but something's gotta move somewhere along the line with other people. Look, we cut Mr. Cobbock's budget, $130,000? What happens when the tree blows down? What happens when the storm hits? What happens when the snowstorm hits? We're dependent on him to get out and get his men to work. Get them on the road, because if we don't get you on the road, then you're not going to work. You're staying at home. So which is more important?
Anyone else before I ask the clerk to proceed with the vote? Madam Clerk, proceed with the vote. All those in favor of this resolution as submitted, respond with aye. Those opposed, nay. Mr. Campbell, reveal the vote. 10 ayes, 14 nays, motion fails. Motion fails. Mr. Garland.
I'll make the motion that we set it, the 3 cents increase at $2.48 with, and appropriate, I'll say $160,000 from that interest. Just estimated right there. From trustees, or is that assessors, which would be more clear?
Trustees.
Just give Ms. Byrd an opportunity. 248 is what you're saying, change the tax rate?
248.
And I assume, Ross, if we're gonna recognize that revenue in general fund, you wanna take the penny off it.
Take, yes, penny off. And we can get that for you. And take what comes out that the trustees apply.
Folks, enough's enough. Now, if I have to ask the bailiff to escort some of the commissioners out, Mr. Meehan, I'll do it. We've got a lot of work to do tonight, so please bear with us. Be courteous to the person that has the floor. Mr. Garland, go ahead.
And the 4 cents, that brings in $331,200. The 3 cents would bring in $248, I think. And what would be needed was $438 and change from fund balance and take that to about $521 or so. I think something like that. I mean, you might probably be going to check that.
What's the breakdown?
Give Ms. Byrd just an opportunity to do this,
So we're
please.
taking a penny from the general fund and leaving everything else the same, and we're gonna recognize an extra $160,000 in interest, right?
Yes.
Okay.
1 second. One second, Mr. Lewis. Let's get this information.
So if I take off a penny from the general fund off of the proposal, I add $160,000 in interest, which I'm okay with, but again, everybody just remember that's projected, that's something we've gotten before, so that's very much an estimate. We are taking $361,000 from fund balance.
1 second, Mr. Lewis. Mr. Lewis.
Hey, I oppose this motion, I'll tell you why now. On this $20 million, on one CD, when it comes due, and I have to sink in, for the year, we get $300,000. And I got paperwork back it up.
Mr. Trigger.
I'd like to make a friendly amendment to Mr. Garland's amendment, and I would like to add to take a cent off of the tax rate and give it to the road department and give them 13 cents? 14 cents. 14 cents.
Is that the individual fund rate, like you take 1.020 from the general fund? One. I guess-
So we have a request for the friendly amendment.
To come from general fund and add it to the county road fund.
That's another 1 cent, correct?
So from the general fund now,
Instead of taking one, you'll take two.
you'll take 2.
1 second, bear with us. Ms. Culler, I'll get with you in just a second, okay?
Thank you. So that would basically put you, pennies, 82,800. So if we recognize 160,000 additional revenue, take off 2 pennies, you're pretty much where we were to begin with. You'd be $443,800 taking from your fund balance. Again, if nothing changes with your expenditure.
Mr. Garland, you going to entertain that motion or not? That amendment?
Yeah, I'll accept that.
Okay, Mr. Garland will accept that motion.
What, hold on, let me clarify, I'm sorry. The fund rate, how it's broken down. What I'm thinking that he's telling me, the 1.020, that we decrease that, it
That's right,
lessens
so you're gonna leave the tax rate, your gross was still 248.
248,
We're just
but
moving a penny from general fund to highway.
to highway, to just additional.
Okay. So you accept that?
Yeah, if that's how it's understood.
That's what I understood.
Okay, you made the motion. Who seconded that? We haven't got a second at this point. Is there a second? Mr. Von Cannon. Okay, the motion is made, 248 with the adjustment. Any clarifications or discussion? Ms. Culler, we've got a motion that's made, newly made and seconded now.
Okay, once again, Ms. Crystal, you'll tell us what we're using fund balance this year and what this is going to take from fund balance next year.
What you use from fund balance in 16-17 is $472,556.87. What this will take from your general fund balance was $443,802.66. So pretty much the same.
So we're not going to put any more money in the fund balance this year.
Right, you're making up the difference by about $30,000.
So we will have that debt plus more next year.
Yes, next year you'll be facing that deficit plus any increases you may have.
Thank you.
Next year.
Okay, with that, any more discussion on this particular motion before I ask the clerk to proceed with the vote? Mr. Trivett.
For 2 years, we have took the road super department fund balance for 2 years in a row. And I think we need to go ahead with this motion and give him some more money. Probably needs more next year.
Okay. Any other discussion? The motion is to set the tax rate at 248, taking the monies from general fund and increasing the road fund to 1 cent, correct?
Yes.
Okay, is everyone clear with that motion? Mr. Lewis?
So you commissioners that don't know this, in the state of Tennessee, the road superintendent, some of them don't get nothing in the county. They don't get nothing from the county commission. Check it out. And if we do give a road superintendent money to deal with, now he does out of law, so they don't get nothing.
Okay. Mr. Von Cannon?
The reason that highway department needs it is for at least 18 years, since 1985, you haven't had a good bridge built in Pearl. And I remember I don't remember this, but I know since bridges were built, and Ronnie was the man that pushed that. You have built a few bridges this year. However, keep in mind that 52% of your bridges in this county right now are substandard, and they could go tomorrow. Now, who goes tomorrow? Overweight school buses. You don't mess with your bridges, and you don't mess with your highway department money, because they've got to have these bridges repaired. That's why Spalding Bridge is sitting closed at the moment. When I checked the weight limit, the bus empty weighed more than the bus empty weighed more than the load limit on the bridge. So you've got your kids, you've got your fuel weight, you've got your driver weight in addition to an overweight bus. So I think we've got to prove this.
Ms. Culler,
You probably don't recall this, but you can look at the minutes. Last year, I was the only person that voted against the budget. The 24 commissioner, I was the only one to vote against the budget because we didn't move. And we were going further and further in debt. And that's exactly what we're doing tonight. We're going further in debt.
we have a motion that's been duly made and seconded. The motion is to set the tax rate at $2.48, increasing the amount to the county road fund by 1 cent and the balance coming from general fund. Madam Clerk, proceed with a vote. Those in favor of this motion respond with aye. Those opposed, nay. Reveal the vote. 11 ayes, motion fails. 13 noes. Well, folks, I'm recommending a 10-minute recess. And you come back and let's set this tax rate.
Tell Chris has to be that baby. It's only supposed to be that baby. I know. Set your table before he asks questions.
Mr. Meehan's coming in blue. Folks, if you would please take your seat. If you would please take your seat. We're back in session. We had a resolution before you pertaining to the tax rate, and this tax rate does have to be set tonight, folks. We addressed those motions. We've had 3 of them thus far, like an auction. 249, 248. Now, where do we go from here? Chair will entertain a motion at this time. Ms. Culler.
Once again, I would appeal to you to pass this resolution at 2:49. We worked many months on this. We're trying to give our employees of the county a little bit of money. We have cut the budgets. We need to pay back fund balance. This is not a huge increase. It's not even enough to balance the budget, but it will be a good beginning. So I will make a motion again, set the tax rate at 2.49 as proposed in this resolution. Second.
We have a motion by Ms. Culler. Same motion again. This time, Mr. Meehan. Mr. Meehan's a little nervous tonight. He's getting really antsy. With that, we have a motion duly made and seconded again to adopt the resolution as submitted. Discussion. Ms. Brown.
Can you in the same meeting vote the same?
Why, sure.
We've done it several.
We've done it years past.
Mr. Lewis.
Commissioners, I tell you, this is not a good thing. And we need to give it 2.5, do the taxpayers a favor. We got plenty of money in Ennis money. Check it out. Man, Lewis has all kind of money down there. You need to check it out and take the Ennis off of it, put it in fund balance, and then in a year's time, you get back in there.
Now, let me, as chair, propose something to you. If there's any of you that's got anything different to say that hasn't already been said, we'd like to hear it. But if you've already said it, then please spare us. Mr. Hill.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. On down under resolutions, item E is the resolution to provide financial assistance for low-income elderly taxpayers, totally permanently disabled homeowners, and disabled veterans, in addition to tax relief already provided by the state of Tennessee. And we're increasing that from $20 to $40. Is that right? Is that the consensus? So basically, if we were to set the tax rate at $2.49 and the average bill in Carter County would go up somewhere between $5 and $20, we're still gonna provide a mechanism for those the most at risk and the most in need of relief to offset completely and maybe more than the tax increase come tax time next year. Is that, if this passes tonight?
That's provided if it passes. At the rate we're going, it's not going to make it tonight.
Can we tie this resolution to the one that we're voting on?
No, sir. One at a time. Thank you. Ms.
I would
Cullen?
just like to tell you that the Budget Committee has already asked Ms. Christie to contact our broker for the insurance. So we're going to be sitting down and looking at all the insurance possibilities and anything for the coming year. I, as chair, if I continue to be chair, am planning on doing a lot of work throughout the year, some workshops, to look at different areas that maybe we can cut more that we haven't been able to see this year. And we intend to do that. That is my proposal as chair of the budget committee. But again, this is something I think we need to do to bring the fund balance for this year.
Now, is there anything that hasn't already been said that needs to be said pertaining to this resolution before I ask the clerk to proceed with the vote? Mr. Garland?
It is different. The Improve Act, the gas diesel tax.
Yes,
is
sir.
something that we haven't really mentioned much. With that, an $5 increase in registration, that will be additional revenues that the county will receive. The gas goes up 4 cents this year. I think 1 cent for the next 3. Diesel goes up 4, 3, something like that. So that's additional revenue we will be getting, and one way to help Mr. Colbach and his department. So that's just some more information.
Mr. Caldwell, could you speak to that and how that's going to impact you? That's been a big thing, and we've not heard from you.
I've got an estimate on the 1 penny increase on gas and diesel for Carter County. The 1 cent will be $77,707.79 for gas. For diesel, it's $16,980.59. This is just an estimate from the state. Now, for 4 cents in a year, that's $378,753.52. That should be an increase in our revenues.
So that's a substantial amount of money that you've not had, but that would be dedicated to these.
I have talked to some commissioners in the finance office, and instead of the highway department getting that 1 penny this year, it may be a good idea to wait and see what this extra state revenue is going to be. And I also, since I'm up here talking, if it could be worked out, I would like the highway budget to be back where it was instead of that $140,000 reduction, bearing in mind that we've got this extra state revenue coming in.
You've heard Mr. Caldwell and his concerns and what he would like. Anyone else before we proceed with the vote? Madam Clerk, proceed with the vote. All those in favor of adopting this resolution as submitted with a tax rate at $2.49, respond accordingly. Mr. Hill, please confirm. Motion fails. And let me explain why, folks. Let me explain why. Mr. Hill, let me explain why, okay? Point just made by Mr. Caldwell. We're going to see projected significant revenue increase for the highway department. Of course, that's going to be dedicated. That'll take care of Mr. Caldwell going forward. We've already heard from 2 departments with projected revenue increases upwards of $500,000 in next year, 400 plus.
With the value of the penny already being included in the
Correct,
budget.
correct.
Thank you.
With that, thank you, Ms. Byrd, I appreciate that.
I know you do.
And as far as cuts, I do see that with the proposed budget, we would need about $900,000, $950,000 to balance this budget. I think that everything's on the uptrend. The revenues are there, but we've not really discussed them at that length. Of course, what little bit I've mentioned here and been brought in line each time, and I understand and appreciate that.
I'll keep doing it.
Thank you. We've got a great relationship.
We do. I know it.
But as far as county mayor is concerned, what Mr. Carroll said there is extremely important to me, because I know a lot of folks in this county that are trying to live on $600, $700, and even less. $5 may not be a big deal if you live in a $50,000 house. $10 may not be that much of a deal to you as well. But folks, there are certain departments here. There are certain departments here that could make some changes to their budgets. And I say that with all the experience in the world, because I've been here 7 years. I am operating on the same 2010 budgets that I had when I came in, but those budgets now are less about $80,000. Now, if the county mayor can do that and maintain the buildings and grounds and do the upkeep and not miss a beat, there are other departments that can. All can't. I did that in 2011 to set an example for others to follow. And here we are, many of you, the same folks, 7 years after the fact, and we've never, ever really got serious about cuts and properly managing our budgets. There's opportunities there, and especially with the revenue on the upswing, we think, the economy's improvement. We're coming out of one of the longest recessions in recent times, 2008, 2010. We're coming out of that, folks. So why should we put that burden on the back of the taxpayers, the people that entrusted us to this office? We can do it. We can balance this budget. Yeah, you'll take money out of your general fund, and you may pull it down to $4.3 million. But if you're serious in what you're talking about and everything I've heard here tonight, then next year you'll come back with a plan to be able to fix this so that we don't drag that reserve down any farther than what we've stated this year. So the opportunity's there. Now, Chair will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Mr. Lewis.
That we keep it at 245, and we pull all this money that we need for last year's balanced budget. Like I say, last year's budget, they were supposed to turn this money in, it's also holding it, and I don't think they did. And that's why we've been in the hole. So pull it out of fund balance, and let's balance this budget, 245. That's my motion.
Have a motion made by Mr. Lewis to go right back where we started here.
Yeah.
245, leave all the funds the same.
Yeah.
$900 plus $1,000 general fund, that's what we're talking about, bringing us our general fund balance down to $4.3 million. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Carroll. Discussion. Ms. Culler.
I don't believe that will balance the budget, Mr. Lewis.
Any other discussion?
Point of order, Mr. Lewis is still here.
It's LC that left.
Well, 1 second. Bear with us.
Mr. Tester left. Mr. Lewis is still here.
1 second. Ray's absent now. Mayor's just about absent. Okay. Mr. Tester, everyone else is present. You've heard the motion. It's been duly made and seconded, made by Mr. Lewis, second Mr. Carroll. 245, we started with this motion initially, pulling the monies from the general fund and leaving everything else in the budget the same. Madam Clerk, proceed with the vote. Those in favor respond with aye. Those opposed, nay. Mr. Lyons and Ms. Collins. Twelve ayes, motion failed. Do I hear 255? Where do we go from here, folks? Mr. McQueen.
Would it be proper, since we seem deadlocked, to switch to another resolution?
I think we need to do this one and get it behind us so that we can move on to the others.
The reason I ask is if we could lock in where we're going to be with our budgets for the departments, we might have a different number that we're actually in debt. So that might affect the way we vote on our tax rate, especially regarding projected revenue increases for some departments.
To be very candid, I just don't see us getting into the deep details of these additional resolutions because that could confuse us even more than what we are now. So I would like to take them in the order that they have. You set the rates and decide what you're going to obligate the taxpayers to now on the front end. And then the others will be pretty easy. Ms. Cullen.
I will make the motion that we set the tax rate at 248. We will take the penny from the general fund.
Second.
This is a different motion. This is not the same as before. This is a motion, Ms. Culler, to set it at 248, take that 1 cent from the general fund with everything remaining the same, correct, as far as all that's on this resolution? And then that was seconded by Garland. We have a motion duly made and seconded. Madam Clerk, proceed with the vote. All those in favor will respond by aye. Those opposed, nay. Ms. Dietz. Reveal the vote. 10 ayes, motion fails. It's obvious that Mr. Lyons.
I'd like to make a motion that we set the tax rate at 246 with 1 cent coming out of the general fund.
And where's the other cent? Or is there?
3 cents, I'm sorry. 3 cents.
Okay. Okay, correct. Setting the tax rate 1 cent above where it was last year. All the funds remaining the same as outlined on this with the 3 cents coming from general fund? Is that, or am I following this correctly, Ms. Krista?
That's what I said.
Okay, is that correct? We have a, 1 second. Got issues.
It's tired.
It can't do that now. Stop it. Kick it. Do whatever. While they're working on this, we have a motion, but it's not been duly seconded.
I withdraw the motion.
The motion's withdrawn.
If I may, since we went back and forth, I'll just throw a card out here and probably get hung in a tree for it. But, Ms. Bird, what would it take to balance the budget? I don't know, throw it out
Are we balancing general fund or highway as well?
Just general balance.
Okay. So it would be. well, the trustee's office and the assessor get really mad at me when I go beyond certain decimal points on a penny here. But it would be $2.54 and 3/10 of a penny.
Make a motion that we set the tax rate at 254 and
3 cents, 3/10 of a penny.
254.3.
that balances the budget, correct?
Okay. Motion by Jenkins to set the tax rate at 254.3, balancing the budget, taking care of all your worries. Is there a second? Is there anybody out there would even dare second? Motion fails for a lack of a second. Okay, folks, let's get serious now. Come on. This is not an auction. We've got work to do. The Budget Committee has spent weeks. They've made the recommendation. Let's go ahead and do something now. Come on, Mr. Lyons.
Not a motion. Can I speak? Can I speak?
You can speak, sir.
I don't have to.
Now, go ahead.
How can these things that are bothering us individually, can we talk about those for a second? And I'll give you an example. It's what I've already spoke to. And I know the school system, Dr. Ward did an excellent job of his work to get that 1%. I know the Budget Committee did a good job doing that. But I'm still concerned, I'm hung up on this, I'm concerned about other employees who are making $23,000 a year carrying a weapon. And I'm concerned about Wendy, who's worked for 17 years for $10, and now throw the other concern out. If you look across the board at directors, deputy directors within our whole county system, it's totally out of balance, totally out of balance. But the one I'm hung up on is, let's just don't worry about that 1 cent. Let's come up with some way to give some of these other people who are deserving and base it on the performance, base it on the directors or the elected officials determining whether they get that 2 cent raise or whatever. That's where I'm hung up.
Mr. Lyons, with that, I share your concern.
Right.
And the thing about it is, that's something that can't be settled here tonight. That'll go back to the individual office holders, the elected or appointed officials where those people work for. And where Miss Wendy's concerned, she worked up until just last year for $8.50. And we tried to take care of that disparity. But that's up to the people that they report to. So, Ms. Culler, go ahead.
Well, I'd just like to point out that our intention with the 249 was to give our county employees a 1% increase.
At no point in time in any of these motions were any of those amounts that were calculated into budget, correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Byrd, were impacted.
Right.
These will remain the same. This was not going to impact that 1% raise or the amount that's required to pay the 8.6% insurance. All of that's incorporated in. You're just pulling more money from the general fund to offset that, and you're depleting that reserves. It's simple. Ms. Culler.
To continue, we need to realize that some of these things that we're having to fund is beyond our control. The state says that the elected officials receive a raise, we have to fund it. We have a contract for the pathology in Johnson City, it increases every year, we have to fund it. We took into consideration all these items, plus the fact that we're trying to give our employees a little bit of a raise. Those sits on a little raise. And what we're asking is, people spend 41.6 cents per month if we've got a $50,000 house, or 83 cents a month if we've got a $100,000 house. And that was what we were proposing with the 249.
Mr. Carroll.
The way I see this, we got three choices. We've already voted down two of them. One was to raise the taxes, and one was to keep the taxes the same. So would a motion to lower the tax rate be in order?
I think that would be a futile motion.
We voted down keeping it the same.
Right.
We voted down raising it. So what are we going to do?
Mr. Carroll, that would be a worse selection than I.
Keep in mind, folks, shh. keep in mind, at no point in time in any of these motions that are made tonight is it impacting the work of the Budget Committee and what they propose for the various departments. That remains the same, unless there's a motion yet that hasn't been made. Mr. Peters.
I'd like to make a motion, and I don't think this, I may have been short. The to set the tax rate to 247 and take 2 cents out of fund balance.
That's a new motion,
Okay, I thought so.
with everything remaining the same as proposed by the Budget Committee.
I thought that formed the motion.
Can I change your motion?
The motion is to set the, huh?
What if we did that? I'm auctioning here.
No, we're finishing this.
Well,
I'm gonna have to call,
this helps.
okay?
And we add the $160,000 in interest. Recognize that as revenue. And that offsets your 2
Yes,
cents, almost
yes.
exactly.
Okay?
I'll second that.
Okay, the motion is 247, motion made by Peters, seconded by Acuff. Instead of pulling the 2 cents from general fund, you're gonna recognize the interest?
The 2
Which
cents will
ultimate-
still come off, but the interest will offset it.
The interest will offset it,
Almost.
provided it comes in as
You
projected.
know, that makes me nervous, but
It
I've
does
gotta-
me too, Miss.
I've got to do something at this point, or we're going to be here till Wednesday.
So we're finally accepting a projected revenue.
My standing question, where would that put us on the fund balance, Ms. Burke?
See, I'm not sure I've ever, I think it might still be up here.
247.
From the last time I did this. It is. That puts us at taking 443,000 from our fund balance this year.
How much, I'm sorry?
443,000.
443. That gives you an opportunity to look at what actually develops next year. Gives you an opportunity to reassess. So the motion is 247, 2 cents to come out of the fund balance with the interest offsetting that. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, proceed with the vote. All those in favor of the 247, respond with aye. Those opposed, nay. Ms. Culler.
Yes.
It passed. Next resolution. We are on a roll now, folks. Next resolution, making appropriation for various funds, departments, institute of offices, and agencies. Do I hear a motion pertaining to this resolution?
I'll make the motion.
Have a motion made by Culler. I think Mr. Lewis seconded that. Correct, Mr. Lewis? Mr. Lewis guesses that he seconded. I heard Lewis before Acuff.
That's fine, Mayor.
Okay, motion made by Culler, second by Lewis. Any discussion on this particular resolution? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, proceed with the vote. All in favor of adopting this resolution, respond by aye. Those opposed, nay.
We're going to summarize to the vote what's going on here.
Basically, we've already done that. When we set the tax rate, the resolutions are available. Ms. Byrd, is there anything you would like to add, setting the,
I mean, if you all want me to go through each one in the amounts, I'd be glad to, whatever you all want.
I guess per the rules, I'll say, this is the budget resolution. This is the resolution that sets all the funds for all the offices and all the funds within the county that the budget committee had put together. So this is your overall budget that sets it for every office, funded by the tax rate you just approved. So this is what this is, the budget resolution.
you just passed the rate supporting this. Okay, with that, Mr. Von Cannon, Mr. Ward, reveal the vote. 15 ayes, motion passes, resolution's adopted. Next resolution, resolution making appropriation to certain nonprofit and charitable organizations serving Carter County. Ms. Bird, is there anything, or Mr. Attorney, that you'd like to add?
Straightforward, it's just the allocations to each nonprofit entity that we do every year, list them out individually and how much money they get.
Make the motion.
Motion made by Culler.
Second.
Second by Acuff, I heard. Any discussion? Mr. Lyons.
Question for Ms. Bird. Have we received audits and reports from all these agencies?
The ones that are required pending our new rules, yes.
I should clarify that. I did, this is different than what has been done in the past because I have inserted the new rule for organizations that receive $100,000 or less. The county holds to the less stringent standard. They do not have to do a full audit. They only have to submit the letter, and the CFO submits the expenditures and receipts. And that's the less stringent standard for those getting $100,000 or less. So that is new this year in the resolution from past years.
Any other questions or discussion? Mr. Carroll.
I don't want to throw a bone in the mix here, but the rescue squad, when we passed this budget to fund these entities, I think we allowed for a 5% increase.
It was a 1%.
1% increase. With that rescue squad, we only funded them $170,000. Now, I know that we had given them one-time gifts, but it wasn't what we funded them. I think this is a misrepresentation here of what we're supposed to be funding. We give them 1% raise, 1% of 170 is not 272 steps. Now,
You're right,
is
we gave them 170 for rescue, and last year we gave them $100,000 to offset their costs of their
one
EMS.
time.
Yes, it was requested to be one time. It also was requested to recur again this year, and Budget Committee approved that, and the 1% was based off of the 270, which is 170 for search and rescue and 100,000 for the EMS services. So it was requested one time, the first time, and then it was requested again this year, and that's something that Budget Committee approved. But you're correct, when they requested it last year, we were told it was one time, and it was requested again.
I don't remember requesting one time again this year. I remember requesting an increase. But anyway, okay.
Okay. Any other discussion? Madam Clerk, proceed with the vote. All those in favor respond with aye. Those opposed, no. Motion passes. Next resolution, resolution to provide financial assistance to be paid from Carter County tax revenues to low-income elderly taxpayers, totally and permanently disabled homeowners, and disabled veterans, in addition to tax relief already provided by the state of Tennessee as provided by TCA 67-5-701. I have a motion by Deets, second by Brown. Any discussions? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, proceed with the vote. Mr. Lewis. Ms. Culler, please confirm. Motion passes. Committee reports. Agricultural Committee, Mr. Garland.
I got a few handouts on that. I'll give some. Agriculture Committee, Mrs. Clark, I don't think she's with us now, she took off. This is something they want to do, I think these are reports that they like to start making up, especially when we don't have a meeting that month. There's nothing to report. Of course, pretty great report, looks like to me. But I will make a few points right here to highlight. 4-H Night at Twins game is August 4th coming up, 6 p.m. Free admission with anything showing 4-H photo. Some way to support the Twins as well. 4-H Poultry Show in sale August 5th at the Appalachian Fairgrounds. And I'm not sure if that's during the actual fair or not, but that's something to consider. They have had some 4-H wildlife judging teams. Those were recent the past month or so to compete at the state level. The high school 4-H group, several kids, and the article's been in the paper if you haven't kept up with those. 6th place finish, very respectable. Junior high team, same in the wildlife judging. They placed first in the region. I'm not sure of the state place on that. We'd like to include the Roan Mountain Farmers Market, Saturdays 9 to 1. Everybody try to go out there and check those out. You know, that helps the local economies, the people that did come out to set up booths in there. Elizabeth downtown, there are Tuesdays from 5 to 8, which is right down here behind the church and the police department. Our agriculture meeting will be this coming Monday, August the 7th, Monday, August the 7th at 4 p.m. Anybody has anything to bring to that or anything to add, we just want to show up, be part of it. That's all I have. Any questions?
Ms. Culler, Budget Committee, do you have anything?
I do not, thank you.
Mr. Grindstaff, Buildings and Grounds?
The only thing I have to add is in your package the meeting minutes for June. If you will look over those. Next building and grounds meeting is August 1st. We'll get back to you.
Education, Mr. Ward?
Of course, we didn't have a meeting in June, from July, but we'd like to talk to you a little bit about education. Liberty is going on right now. Friday, Saturday, or Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. I'd like to invite everybody out to learn about the history of Carter County. If you've never seen the play or drama, it's changed a little bit this year, so I would encourage everybody to come out. Also, again, bought your license plate. We really encourage everybody to get one of these, and the proceeds go to the state park with the Friends Group.
Chairman Ward, this Thursday is Veterans Day, so if you're a veteran, you're getting free as well as a significant other, a spouse, or anybody that you want to bring.
So please come out and support Liberty, because that's where this government started, and we need to support our local government. This is the 39th year, and I just think we need to support that. Also, the next meeting for education will be the 7th. The next school board meeting will be the 17th. We had a good outcome on the feeding the literacy program. Would you like to speak on that, Dr. Ward?
That was a good year to, I guess, the first year. We look forward to next year, coming years to grow even more. There's been some discussion with some of the local churches who are maybe going to get involved and provide some funds for parents who showed up with their kids and didn't have the means to with them. So that was one thing this year that was, I guess, eye-opening for us. So look for
I actually took my grandson out. We'll be happy. I paid for mine. It was a good meal. Had a lot of happy kids over there. And I want you to make one of the last things that they have. Anything else in education you'd like to talk about, Dr. Ward? Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Ward. Financial Management, Mr. Lyons.
We have no report.
Sir, what about your Alternative Revenue Committee, the newly formed committee? Do you want to make any comments or statements there? I know you've had one meeting.
Do not have any minutes, but I'll be glad to kind of leave it if you want me to.
Well, it's up to you, sir. It's up to you. It's your call.
I'll make sure we get our minutes out. We do every second meeting.
Okay. Health and Welfare Committee, Mr. Holden.
Nothing to report.
Highway Committee, Mr. Hill.
No report. Next meeting is the 14th of August, I believe. Yes. 2 p.m. at the Highway Department.
Okay. Landfill Committee, Ms. Dietz. Law Enforcement, Mr. McQueen.
Nothing new, Mr. Chair, thank you.
While we're on that, we do have a matter that needs to be addressed, and that's the inmate medical services contract that you have on the table in front of you. This is another matter county attorneys reviewed. Captain Smith, if you'd like to expand upon that. These are through Mountain States Health Alliance.
Yes, Mountain States Health Alliance, we have always received a 50% discount from Mountain States Health Alliance whenever they dealt with any of our inmates. The question came up about a written contract, and we've researched, the county attorney, I spoke to him, and he got the Judge Bowers, I believe, and could not find one. Mountain States used their legal team, I guess, to put together a contract, which you should have a copy in your packet for the Johnson City Medical Center and one for Sycamore Shores Hospital. They have to do one for each one of the facilities because they're separate, I guess, on the accounting end. But anyway, they are proposing to continue that 50% discount for any services that are rendered on any inmates that are sent to the facility by us. That's pretty much where we stand.
And you have two contracts in front of you. Basically, they're boilerplate contracts. They're both the same with the exception is one of them will be between Mountain States Health Alliance doing business at Sycamore Shoals Hospital, and the other one is Mountain States or MSHA doing business at Johnson City Medical Center, both of them dated July 13.
They were just wanting something in writing, so anytime the question was raised, I believe by other officers or the state officers, they had this contract in place to show that it was an offering out of the hospital to the county.
County Attorney Harden, is there anything that you would like to add in reference to this contract or these contracts?
No, like you said, it simply is a standard agreement, simply giving us a 50% discount for services we're going to have to obtain anyway. So it is a great benefit to the county.
And as far as the county, the person that would be executing for these for the county, it says the jail, the county of Carter. Would that be the sheriff? That's finance director, or how we? It's not named here.
This is from their legal team. I would assume they need the signature of the mayor and the sheriff, and I can sign them too, or the finance director. They didn't specify whose signature they want, but certainly the mayor and the sheriff can enter into this agreement.
You need a motion for that?
We'll need a motion pertaining.
I make the motion, we accept it.
Now, to be clarified, are you authorizing both contracts, one for Medical Center and Sycamore Shoals? Have a motion made by Commissioner Trivett, second by, I heard Color, Mr. Holder, you, Color and Trivett. Any additional discussion or any discussion on?
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Just one thing, I think this is appropriate. Who's going to provide transport, if needed, to these facilities?
Captain Smith?
That'll be done by the officers at the Carter County Sheriff's Office unless there's an emergency situation, which the rescue squad, I believe that's part of the contract with them, will kind of take.
Tom, then is, let's say it is EMS that transports, do you all reimburse them for that?
No, it's part of the contract for our, we do not.
Well, that's, I know that has been a write-off for them, and I'll let Director Arnold speak to it if he wants to in the past. Those services need to be reimbursed. It's something that we need to revisit. Just my opinion.
Director Arnold, I think you submitted a budget. In the past, you had agreed to provide that service if that budget was funded. Is that your same mindset tonight, or are you of the mindset with Commissioner Acuff that this is something above and beyond the contract that would have to be addressed by reimbursements?
I think in 2014, 15, when we went under the agreement, that was included in the 170. We spent $63,000 this year on transport for bodies, jail personnel, water, and medical. That's it. We had to give them medication, that was part of it. But we are in a 4-year contract with the franchise that we need.
So basically, is that a yes or is it a no? I just got to know, so that the question's been raised. We've allocated tonight $272,000 annually for the squad, which is more than what was actually approved last year, plus the $100,000. So the question is, will you provide those services without the expectation of reimbursement for the transport?
Under contract, I have to keep the contract.
Okay. Commissioner, you good with that?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
We have a motion that's been duly made and seconded. Any other questions?
I've got one.
Mr.
Medicine, does that include medicine half price?
Anything that is provided by Mountain States,
We had it right.
50% discount.
Off their billed rate, 50% of the billed rate. Any other discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, proceed with the vote. All those in favor respond with aye, those opposed, nay. Reveal the vote. Motion passes. Unanimous vote. Okay? Nominating Committee. Mr. Meehan.
Nothing to report.
Parks and Rec.
Nothing to report.
Rules and Bylaws.
Nothing to report.
Mr. Peters, do you have any update as far as the interim committee, as far as animal shelter?
Yes, I do. Last Thursday night, I met with, or I spoke at the city council meeting. They appointed their 2 people from the city council to the transition board. They appointed Mr. Sam Shipley and Mr. Frazier. So we will be having our first meeting next Thursday, the 27th, at 4:30 here in the, hopefully in the courtroom, but if not, one of the meeting rooms. Everything's going good at the animal shelter. I try to go down there at least 2 or 3 times a week. Everything's running normal. We've had several adoptions, so everything's going good, with the exception of a couple problems we're working on. The population right now is at normal.
Right now, we have a total of 109 cats and 27 dogs.
And I found out dogs get adopted out a lot quicker than cats do.
Are you still taking animals? Or
Yeah.
is it done and cut off? Or
We are.
So
4:30.
4:30 on the 27th.
Thank you.
It's on Thursday.
Mr. Peters, there's one thing that's on my mind. You know, when we set this up originally, we indicated that, or you indicated there would be no drastic changes immediately. And it's come to my attention that we've made several changes to the operation hours. We're not extended hours any longer to help with the adoption and the people in the county that work. We bought new signage for that. When was that decision made and why? What to justify that? Because
I made that decision because after talking with the employees and the director, it was to give them more time to get everything cleaned up before the public come in at 12 o'clock during the day. It gave them more time to get everything cleaned up, and so that was a decision we made, the director made with me, to work with the people that work down there and make things better, run smooth.
also, animal shelter manager is showing only a little over 50 animals in our custody at this time, but yet what I heard Ms. Posada say is considerably more than that. Why would we not have all the animals properly represented in Shelter Manager and uploaded to Pet Finder? Because I've already gotten several calls from concerned citizens that are not able to go back and reclaim their pets, and that was one of the problems that we had initially early on when this started. Can you tell me why those animals are not properly reported, especially if we've changed the hours, given staff more time in the morning?
Miss Maria's working on that. She had been on vacation through her adoption event. She's just not getting her paperwork caught up.
Okay.
What are the hours of operation now?
From, 8
It is 12 to 4:30, Monday through Friday, and Saturdays is 11 to 3.
Yeah, that's for the,
How was the response from the city when you met them?
I had a real good response from the city, and they're anxious to get on board and work any way they can with the animal care. And so we'll see how that goes when the board meets.
You mentioned there was a couple of problems you were working through. What are those problems?
Well, it's just some problems that we're working on that I'm not ready now to divulge. Some problems we need to take care of. I'll report back on that at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Peters. Are there any other committee reports? County Attorney?
I'll just stand on my written report this month unless anybody has a question.
Any questions for Attorney Harden? Seeing none, Commissioner comments. Mr. Von Cannon.
After that, we're rebuilding, and they already have the trailer on site. 207 Parkwood Boulevard, and I mentioned last month or a month ago that I'd like to see the commissioners at least send 5 or 6 one Saturday to compliment the normal people. We have quite a few days. It takes 72 building days roughly to build the house, not counting Sunday, of course, 6 days a week. If they're going to work Thursday, Friday, Saturday. The other thing is, how many vets are here tonight? How many veterans? I'm prepared to buy you a ticket to Liberty on Thursday night, which is what, 3 nights?
Thank you, Commissioner Von Cannon. I'm sure the veterans appreciate that. Ms. Culler?
I would like to thank my committee for all the hard work they've done over the last 2 or 3 months, and I appreciate your work.
And I would like to thank this commission tonight for finally coming to terms with a level that you can all support. Any other comments?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion made to adjourn, seconded. We are adjourned. Let me go.